Tuesday, Government Watch.
See what more than $1 billion buys local government and schools. At 9 a.m., the Yuba County Board of Supervisors sees Yuba County's $374 million recommended budget for the coming year. That extra penny per dollar you spend every time you buy something in Yuba County is doing real work. See where nearly $12 million in Measure K money is going. The supervisors also vote today on formally rejecting California's sanctuary jurisdiction policies and declaring cooperation with federal immigration authorities. Budgets? At the 3 p.m. Sutter County Supervisors meeting, the county's $551.6 million recommended budget gets its public presentation. Sutter County firefighters anticipate a new 2-year contract and a 2% raise. A behavioral health provider gets a nearly $500,000 budget boost in a separate action. There's been a 76% rise in certain types of behavioral health conservatees between July 2023 and March of 2026. More care is needed. Money is from state and federal sources. And a retired Sutter County K-9 named Hitch goes home with his handler for $1,500. Supervisors are expected to say yes to the switch for Hitch, something to woof about. Around 6:30 p.m., Marysville Joint Unified School District trustees also get a walk through the district's 2026-27 income and spending plan. It's $215.8 million across the district. There's a public hearing. People can ask questions, weigh in. Adding it up, every kindergartner through 8th grader in the Marysville Unified School District could be learning math differently next year. Marysville school trustees will hold a public hearing, then a vote on a new district-wide math curriculum Tuesday night. Parents who want to weigh in have at least one chance before the gavel comes down. At 7 p.m., the Yuba City Unified School Trustees also hold a public hearing on YCUSD's $240 million budget, along with the accountability plan that shows where the money goes and who it serves. The board votes on 10 electric school buses. That's an $8.8 million purchase, covered almost entirely by state and PG&E grants, the district picking up just $577,000. And at 15 Yuba City schools, 6,000 students are getting more music, dance, and digital arts, mariachi, ballet folklorico, and a new digital animation pathway. The annual arts report gets its board approval tonight. It's all live right here.
Tuesday on Government Watch, you can support or sponsor. Help keep the community aware with Yuba-Sutter.LIVE.
All right, we're going to move to the consent agenda. We're going to do roll call attendance.
Supervisor Vasquez?
Here.
Supervisor House?
Here.
Supervisor Fuhr?
Yes.
Supervisor Bradford?
Here.
Supervisor Messing?
Here.
Thank you.
All right, on the consent agenda, let's go ahead and pull item 293 and 275. Is there any public comment on the consent agenda?
Move to approve with those items pulled.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And now we'll go to special presentations. Ms. Helmer?
Good morning, and thank you for having me. My name is Lisa Marie Helmer. I am the director of the Yuba-Sutter Trauma Intervention Program that is affectionately known as TIP. Thank you for allowing me to come in and speak about TIP and what our volunteers are doing throughout the community. For those of you who are not familiar with TIP, TIP is a nonprofit organization that provides emotional and practical support to people experiencing some of the very worst moments of their life. We respond 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, at the request of fire, police, deputies, hospitals, and community agencies. Our volunteers are called when someone has died unexpectedly, when a family is facing a medical crisis, a suicide, a fire, a death notification, any type of traumatic event where emotional and practical support is needed. TIP is often described as emotional first aid. While firefighters, law enforcement officers, EMS personnel, and hospital staff take care of the emergency itself, TIP takes care of the people that are left behind. TIP has been serving Yuba and Sutter County for 32 years. Since our founding in 1994, our volunteers have responded to nearly 16,000 calls, providing service and comfort to individuals and families during a time of crisis. One of my favorite stories about TIP comes from Yuba City Fire Captain Pernod. He shared when he first became a firefighter, his fire captain told him, when someone calls 911 and they arrive on a call, they have to solve that problem, whatever it is, because there was no one else that was coming. There was no one that they could call for help. There was no 912. And then he said, today there is. Today there is a 912, and that is TIP. When firefighters need help, we call TIP. That was very powerful when he spoke at our gala about that. When first responders call TIP, they know someone is coming whose sole purpose is caring for the emotional needs of the family so that they can return to their job and they can continue serving the community. That partnership allows first responders to do what they do best while knowing that no family is left alone. In 2025, TIP responded to 589 calls throughout Yuba and Sutter County. Those responses resulted in 2,362 community members that got support and 2,883 first responders. Of those 589 calls, 293 were in Yuba County. Our volunteers responded to CPR in progress, sudden deaths, fires, suicides, senior crisis calls, fatal accident, death notifications, drownings, murders, any type of emergency. Those 293 calls in Yuba County represented 293 moments when your community experienced a life-changing event and they did not have to face it alone. One thing that people sometimes don't realize about TIP is that it also reduces the emotional burden of our first responders. When deputies, firefighters, EMS, and nurses have to stay with grieving families for an extended period of time, they are carrying on an emotional responsibility far beyond the emergency itself. When TIP steps in, we offer that support. We answer the questions. We help the families make difficult calls. We explain the coroner protocols, and we connect people with resources. We provide comfort and reassurance during moments of confusion and grief. And by doing so, we allow our first responders to return to service and be available for that next emergency. As Captain Pernod likes to say, TIP has become the emergency's 912. In addition to our traditional crisis response services, TIP has expanded to our seniors in the community. When there is a 911 call for a senior and they go in and they see they need resources, or there is a family that calls 911 too much, fire can't stay. So they have been calling TIP. So many of our senior related calls involves individuals who may be isolated, experiencing repeated medical emergencies, struggling with mobility, and lacking access to needed resources. There's resources out there, they just don't know where to find them. So our volunteers work to connect seniors and families with community services. Sometimes the greatest impact we make is not during that emergency, but by helping prevent the next crisis before it happens. One area I'm particularly proud of is our resource guide. We recognize that families often leave a crisis overwhelmed and unable to remember anything that they were told. So TIP created a comprehensive guide that includes grief information, those coroner protocols, community resources, support group, and the next practical steps. Today, that guide is available in English, Spanish, and most recently we had it printed in Punjabi, thanks to the generous partnership with Adventist Health and Ride Out, who recently completed our translation. So these are our resource guides that we give to every client. Make sure they have all the information. We also have one for our fire calls. Our next goal is to get it translated and printed in Hmong so that we can serve even more families in our community so that they can have access to this information in their native language. What makes our affiliate unique is that we are 100% community funded. Most TIP affiliates throughout California and across the country operate through contracts with government agencies, municipalities, hospitals, and public safety organizations. In many ways, it is a pay-to-play model where agencies fund the service in order to have TIP available to respond. Yuba-Sutter TIP is different. We do not operate under contracts with local governments or first responder agencies. Instead, we are funded entirely through donations, grants, sponsorships, fundraising efforts. We have what's called a Heroes with Heart Gala every year where we honor first responders. That is our major fundraising effort and the generosity of our community. So that means every time that TIP is requested, there is no cost to the agency and no cost to the families that we provide services to. We're proud that this has sustained TIP for 32 years. But at the same time, maintaining a 24-hour crisis response program requires ongoing financial support. Like many nonprofits, we face increasing costs for training, volunteer support, insurance, supplies, community outreach, among other things. Our hope is to continuing operating under this. However, it may come a time where we also have to go under contract in order to keep TIP running in our community. As we look ahead, our goals are pretty simple. We want to continue strengthening our partnership with our first responders. We want to expand resources for families and seniors throughout our community. We want to complete that Hmong guide. We want a senior resource guide so that when we go in, we can hand them this guide and it will have all the resources that they need. And we want to ensure that whenever tragedy strikes in Yuba County, no one has to face it alone. So on behalf of our volunteers, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to share what TIP does. Thank you for your service to Yuba County and for continued support for programs that strengthen our community. For 32 years, TIP has been there on the worst day of someone's life, and we look forward to continuing that mission for many years to come.
Thank you so much, Lisa. A couple of questions.
Yes.
What is your guys' budget for the year usually around?
It's about, sorry, I have to look at my board member. It's about 60 to 80,000 around in there.
Okay. And then the fact that you guys have expanded the scope, obviously the T is trauma, and you guys have expanded that to just neglect and loneliness for the senior support. That's fantastic. I was not aware that you guys had done that.
Most people think of us as just for death, and we anything. Sometimes they have no food, so we kind of get them in contact with food banks, just any type of resources they need. A lot of our seniors aren't computer savvy, so they don't know how to do all this. So my volunteers go in and we sit with them and we make sure we write it all out and we help them on the computer if need be, anything that they need so that they can continue living at home safely and.
Fantastic. Thank you. Any other comments?
Through the chair, just wanted to say thank you to you and your volunteers. I know you provide a tremendous amount of support to the community, and I hadn't even thought about what a support you are to our first responders and our public safety folks too. So thank you for that.
Every time we have them come in and speak, they always thank us because they do say that we help their mental health. So, well, thank you again. I appreciate you guys.
All right. And speaking of first responders, we have a presentation.
Morning, gentlemen. Madam Council, Madam Clerk as well. I'm Nick Morzinski, the Undersheriff with the Sheriff's Office, and have the pleasure to be before you today to present our quarterly update for the public safety sector of our county. Quite timely, about a month ago, our 2025 annual report we released out to the public, and I felt that this would be a great opportunity to kind of highlight some of the great work that our staff's doing within the community. Before I get to that, I want to reiterate what the board said. Lisa Marie, the TIP volunteers are essential to us. As she mentioned, and maybe I can give it just from a little bit of the other side of the perspective, when our staff show up at a traumatic scene like this, there's definitely a job to do. And sometimes that can come off as potentially callous or indifferent. That's not the case. There's just a job to be done. And for TIP to be able to bring that compassion and grace and help our staff out along with those victims and those that are suffering, you do tremendous work and appreciate all that TIP does. Now on to us. So as the board knows, our motto at the Sheriff's Office is building a safe community. And basically that boils down to we are protecting and serving those members of the community and those who visit our county. And the core principle of that is building the community partnerships. An example will be with TIP, other community organizations, and of course our public safety partners that are out there. That it takes a village, and we recognize that, and trying to promote those relationships is core to our values. So I'm going to break down some of the different divisions that we have at the Sheriff's Office, starting with patrol. That's going to be the most visible out there to the public. Those are our deputies that are out responding to calls for service and also doing proactive enforcement of crimes. Yuba County is unique in many ways, but one of which is the geographical layout of the county. So we have the unincorporated Lower Valley, Linda and Olivehurst that we're responsible covering. That's more of an urban type beat. And then of course, we also have the 610 miles that are not so urban up in the county, and the diversity that is required from our staff to be able to address different community issues in very different geographical communities is impressive. One of the highlights that I'd like to share with you, if you look up at the upper right-hand corner, over the course of 2025, our patrol staff did nearly 7,000 traffic and pedestrian stops. So in addition to responding to calls for service, they're out there patrolling as well. In order to hit those kind of numbers at 7,000, that means that we got some good number of staffing out there. We're able to not only respond to calls for service, some agencies are in positions where they have to be solely reactive and just go to calls for service. But that's a good way to highlight that our staff is also out there making proactive contacts and dealing with criminal behaviors on that part. It may not be known to some of the public, some watching here and present with us today, that the Sheriff's Office duties also include the coroner duties and public administrator duties. Anytime there is a death that occurs within Yuba County, a report is taken and submitted to the sheriff as the coroner as well. Within the time frame of 2025, we had 740 deaths. That is somewhat of a complex process. Working with the next of kin, working with the families. There's issues with the estate. We help to solve those issues as well. Our investigations unit and that group that you see right there are doing just a phenomenal job. So this is our unit that responds to complex criminal cases, generally felony type cases, major assaults, major crimes, sexual crimes, fraud-related type cases. One thing that I find very impressive with some of the stats that we pulled from 2025 is that there were 154 cases assigned to that small unit. And again, these are very complex cases, but within that same time frame, they were able to close out 130 of those, which I think is worthy of note. 95 different arrests made by our investigations team. They wrote over 160 warrants, both arrest warrants and search warrants in completing those investigations. And we're able to seize 16 firearms over the course of 25. Our special weapons and tactics, as the board is aware, we are members of a regional SWAT team with the Yuba City Police Department, the Marysville Police Department. And that has been a phenomenal relationship, and it's really been a force multiplier when responding to critical incidents, high-risk warrant services. Fortunately, we did not have any hostage incidents back in 25, and let's keep it that way. But there was 23 SWAT callouts that our guys went out and handled and did a professional job and resolved the complex issue. With the help of Measure K, we have been able to establish a somewhat unique unit within our sheriff's office, and that is our problem-oriented policing team. And that team consists of 4 deputies and a sergeant. And their sole role is not out there responding to general calls for service as patrol does, but to focus more on complex tactical issues that are facing our county. So a lot of focus on gang activity, a lot of focus on narcotics, but as well, of late, we have seen a big uptick in copper wire thefts from AT&T and from some of our main lines in the rural parts of our county. Having this team that is flexible enough to pivot from various types of crimes to really focus on a particular issue that we're having within our county and community at any given point has really been a game changer for us. And to have our staffing at levels to where we can provide that service to the community is phenomenal. Some of the highlights of what they've done, there's been 77 firearms, illegal firearms that were seized by our POP team, 2.7 pounds of cocaine, 76 pounds of methamphetamine. And just to give that a little bit of perspective for you, the usable amount of methamphetamine is less than a gram, so about a sweetened low packet. Now, see how many sweetened low packets it would take to hit 76 pounds. That is the amount of methamphetamine that they have kept off of the streets of our community. That is the amount of methamphetamine that they have kept from people ingesting and then committing crimes within our community, or stealing and theft-related type crimes in order to purchase said methamphetamine. So they've really done a phenomenal impact. I'm very proud of this team, and it's something that we hope to build upon. Another thing that we've really built up is our school resource officers. So we are now up to 4. We have Deputy LaRue and Rocco are assigned to the Marysville Joint Unified School District. Deputy Mannion is now at Wheatland High School, and Deputy Prince is the school resource officer out at Yuba College. So we're growing this program in partnership with these school districts. It's been a wonderful partnership. They have provided us with the vehicles for these guys to use. I don't know if you've seen, I wish I had a picture in here, the wrap that was done on one of our patrol cars for the Wheatland High School is pretty impressive. And we'd like to see that move to all of our SROs. But the service that they provide at the schools, the mentorship to youngsters like this out here has just been great. So it's been a wonderful relationship. I'm glad to see we're up to 4. I would like that to increase even further in the future.
If I may ask a question.
You may.
On the Yuba College, do they not have their own police force anymore and you guys have replaced it? Is that what happened?
Yes.
Okay,
We have
that's fine.
contracted with them. We didn't initiate this replacement. They approached us wanting our services. We were able to contract with them and they're funding it. And so far it's been a great relationship. So I mentioned the calls for service that patrols responding to. The very heartbeat of that is our communications and dispatch center. My goodness gracious, 2025, nearly 137,000 calls for service that came through our dispatch center, processed, dispatched, documented, recorded by 13 people, 24 hours a day. That blows my mind that these men and women are able to process this amount of call volume that comes in. Like I said, they're the heartbeat of our department. 26,000 911 calls. It all starts with them, and they just do phenomenal work. And I couldn't be more impressed with the amount of calls that they handle on a daily basis. In conjunction with our dispatch is also our records unit. We have a couple of records clerks assigned to us, and they're the ones that are processing all the reports that are being completed by the deputies and community service officers, and sending them over to our partners at the DA's office, probation, courts for prosecution. They've processed over almost 5,000 reports. There's been quite an uptick, which I do not see as a bad thing, very transparent. in public records requests that are coming in. And with those public records requests, records helps to evaluate whether the information is releasable, and if so, to get it to them in a timely process. That is up to and including now body cam video and other documentation that we have for calls for service. So the workload is increasing on that, on what they have to respond to and what we need to be transparent with the public on. So they're doing great, and we're looking to expand that a little bit to ease that burden. Our evidence system, that's another thing that the general public may not know. As you all are aware, we within the last couple of years transitioned to a new report management system. With that came a suite for evidence, documentation and auditing and inventory for everything that we have. We just finished, it was quite a long process, but impressive how quick they got it done. Migrated over 60,000 pieces of evidence that we have in our possession on various investigations that have been done into the new system. So now we are complete with that. Every item of evidence that has ever been taken and retained by the Yuba County Sheriff's Office is now within our new system. It was impressive work that they got that through. In 2025 alone, nearly 5,000 pieces of evidence were booked into our system. Another cool highlight, May of this year, we opened up our new mental and medical health wing, which is a 12-bed facility that we have staff now and using our medical and mental health providers to offer those services to those that are in our custody under our charge. It's a wonderful facility. I think all of you gentlemen came through and took a tour of it. It's been a long time in the making. It is now here, and what a beacon for other jail facilities in our area as to how to address these issues of medical and mental health. Additionally, and I know we recently had the departure of Dr. Liu. She was very pivotal in the CalAIM project and getting Medi-Cal services to those under our care. In 2025, we had over 4,000 people coming into our custody that were screened for Medi-Cal eligibility, and 2,300 where Medi-Cal cases were actually activated. And now we're receiving compensation back from the state in providing that medical care under those circumstances. So that has been a great program. My thanks to public health and all the hard work of our staff to get that going. We average about 340 average daily population within our facility. That's the 25 numbers, and that's staying pretty current through today as well. I believe it was a month ago or so that Jeremy Strain got up and gave a quarterly presentation on code enforcement and what they've done. The partnership that we have with Jeremy's crew and our two deputies that are assigned to it has just been a game changer for our community and cleaning it up. I included some before and after pictures. I know that Jeremy shared some a little while back as well. But just to reiterate to the public and to the board, the efforts that have been in collaboration between code enforcement and the sheriff's office have been fruitful. I know we all see it when we drive down in the Northville Road corridors, where we tried to make a lot of focus on. Also the river bottoms and cleaning out some of the homeless encampments. Phenomenal relationship. I'd like to see it continue. There's no showing that it's going to diminish and just improve upon that collaboration that we have. Marine enforcement, we're also responsible for that. So for all the waterways within the county, we patrol those. We have deputies assigned up at Bullard's Bar. We also patrol Campfire West and of course our rivers. And during 2025, there was over 200 boating inspections and 86 boating citations that were issued out. And noteworthy, one boating under the influence arrest was made as well. So for all you watching out there, that is equally a crime to operate a vessel on a waterway under the influence. And
Just to be more specific, does a boating inspection and a boating citation consist of?
sure, so there's various code sections that are enforceable for operating a boat on a waterway. So this would include having safety devices for all passengers on board. There also is a permit that you have to get to operate a vessel on the waterways. And so these inspections are to make sure, A, they got the safety equipment that they need, and B, that they are an operator that can operate within our waterways.
So are they usually like fix-it tickets? The citations are like fix-it tickets?
Generally, with exception of criminal activity, right? So if we got a under the influence type charge, that's not a fix-it. It's go to jail free. Animal Care Services, ACS, also falls under the Sheriff's Office purview. Taking a look at some of the stats from 25, again, mind-boggling and impressive as well. There's almost 2,000 animals that came through our facility and housed. The number of adoptions was at 390. I would love to see that number increase and have those two bars equal out at some point. But nonetheless, the work that our staff is doing out there with the limited resources that they have and addressing the issues of our growing community with these animals has been nothing short of phenomenal. As you may know as well, we investigate any type of dog or cat bites, as well as any type of potential rabies issues. We did have in 2025, 32 different cases that we tested for rabies, and 4 of which turned out to be positive for rabies. So that is something that is alive and well in our community.
The difference between those two bars, the 1,600, are those mostly animals getting returned to their owners? Are they mostly euthanized, or is that just a mix of the two?
For the animals housed, it would be a mix. It would be a mix. So not only return to their owners, of course, that is first and foremost our goal. Secondary to that would be an adoption out, and the 390 reflect that. Thirdly, it would be to a nonprofit or somebody else that can help house that animal and provide it a safe home and continue with the adoption process. But when those 3 avenues are exhausted, unfortunately, sometimes it does come down to euthanasia after a period of time when we try to explore those other options. Search and rescue. I talked about the diverse geography of our county, and both our volunteer organization for search and rescue and plus our sworn staff that are dedicated to it are navigating that geography quite often in searching for missing people. Unfortunately, we got summer coming upon us, and we make as strong an effort as we can to educate people on our waterways and the potential drowning issues that could happen when visiting those waterways. But unfortunately, sometimes we do get some drownings, and search and rescue has been great, both in searching and rescuing and also, unfortunately, the recovery when we have victims of that. They've run 13 missions in 2025, 4 of which were land searches and 9 of which are what I was speaking to with water recoveries. Also of note, we have a very good comprehensive search and rescue team that is often requested by neighboring agencies to assist them with various searches that they have going. So not only is this work being done for our community as well, but they're also offering out their services to our neighboring partners in assisting them. And I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about our volunteer program and our STARS, our Sheriff's Team of Active Residents in Service. These are all men and women, God bless them, that just volunteer their time to help the Sheriff's Department in whatever is needed at any given time. During 2025, that included 2,378 service hours. And if we look over the life of the program, over 200,000 hours dedicated and volunteer, free of charge, to assist us with anything from vehicle maintenance to records processing. I mentioned the heavy lift of the migration of all of our evidence system. Our stars were right alongside our staff in getting that done. And I couldn't be more grateful for it. Marijuana enforcement team. I know near and dear to Supervisor Messick's heart up in his district. They continue to impress us with the numbers. Over 56,000 plants, illegal plants, that were seized in 2025 over the course of completing 56 search warrants. 34 arrests were made. That's almost 3,000 pounds of processed marijuana and 114 deployments. I could speak to this for a lot of time. I am very well aware that marijuana is now legal in California for recreational use. However, that does not speak to the environmental impacts that occur within our community and our foothill region and our waterways with the illegal pesticides and herbicides that are used to grow these. And nor does it speak to the criminal infrastructure that comes into our community to grow and process this illegal marijuana. So agreed, it is a legal substance. However, don't grow it illegally in Yuba County or our team's going to be after you. And they've proven that over the last few years. I would like to come back to and report to you next year that that bar graph of 56,000 plants goes down, because I see that as progress that we're making in our enforcement and sending the message that Yuba County is not the place to do this. One of our focuses actually that is occurring within our department and quite frankly, law enforcement throughout the nation is the advancements in technology and drone programs. Right now, we have one supervisor assigned to our drone unit and 5 FAA certified pilots that are deploying these drones on various missions, a lot of which are assisting with search and rescue, but also in criminal nature. And if we need to get some eyes overhead, a drone is a lot cheaper than a helicopter and a pilot, and a lot more versatile and flexible in its deployment. So this is an area that we are really hoping to enhance. We've had a lot of success with our drone program. We are now working closely with Beale Air Force Base in some of their anti-drone projects. And it's a collaboration that I would like to see continue, and I think we can enhance public safety in our community with those relationships.
On the 5 certified pilots, are those sworn officers?
Yeah. Oh, don't quote me on that. So the vast majority are sworn officers. We may have a community service officer on it as well.
And that was my question is,
Yeah.
is that, does it need to be a sworn officer? Because I would assume that the search and rescue team that's volunteer,
Correct.
perhaps the STARS, a CSO, those would all be people that if you don't need sworn officers for that, I don't know why you would need sworn officers, but I was curious.
Absolutely. There's no requirement to be sworn. However, I will provide you with a little bit of insight as to why that might be a good idea to have the majority of them sworn. When it is a sworn officer that has this drone in the trunk of his patrol vehicle and is out on patrol, the deployment of that is much more immediate.
On site.
In the event of an incident where it needs to be deployed rapidly. That doesn't speak to search and rescue issues and other pre-planned events where we can schedule that out. But there is an advantage to having sworn officers with it out in the field on a daily basis and positioned throughout various areas of the county. Health and wellness, that has been a focus of Sheriff Anderson's administration, and it is going very well. We have a very robust peer support program. there's a photo there of our chaplain, Pastor Kerry Brown. And in addition to this, and not photoed, is we have a contract with a local family therapist to provide services to our staff as well, free of charge. As we all know, 2025 was a tough year for our staff, and focusing on their mental well-being, their physical health, their endurance in carrying out their tasks really came to fruition last year in dealing with a line of duty death. And being able to see the peer support, the acceptance of the peer support, the acceptance of our chaplaincy program, the usage of our family therapists by our staff. I'm proud that they're utilizing those resources. I utilize them as well. And this is something that we would love to see continue, and a healthy, both mind, body, and soul law enforcement officer is a good thing for our community. And being able to offer those resources to keep that going is a source of pride for us. Lastly, like I said, we did just recently release our annual report. In years past, that has been a paper copy magazine type thing. And we send it out, and I'm certain all of you read it, and I'm certain that you just keep stacks of them at your house so you can peruse them on a regular basis. This year, we actually went to a different method where it's all digital now. And if you'll look up on the screen, we have a URL code that you can scan, and you can access a copy of our annual report at any given time. That is also up on our website, and we have various posters posted throughout our facility too for anybody that wants to learn a little bit more about the Sheriff's Department and what we do. With that, I will open up to any questions you all may have.
The chair. All these things have happened within the last 17 years, and we've had a doubling of assessed valuation in 17 years. Yuba County has grown, fastest growing county, the last 10 years, did 400 homes, and we owe it all to the staff out here that actually works together. I've been here since 2009, and you get to some of the different statewide organizations that looks like a cluster, and everybody's arguing. We come back here, and everything is mellow. We also we increased from $20 billion to $40.3 billion in assessed valuation by building houses and in the strength of our staff doing the right things at the right time. The water agency, when they came into freedom from PG&E, we started out with a $5,000 per year for first offenders. That's to all the volunteer fire departments, police departments. And we've since tripled it. We had 5,000 first year, and we had more money. We knew what to do with, so we gave them 10,000, and then we doubled that to 20,000. So we've done more in growth in the last 10 years per capita of any other county in the state, and we've been able to do the things that you said because we didn't pay attention to the state. State was not a big part of what we did. We did it ourselves. Yuba County is no longer a poor community. We just got a new supervisor for District 1 elected with a 62% vote, so he doesn't have to run in the primary. So there's a lot of things that were caused by the rapid growth and buildup in Yuba County, supported by the staff. I think you'd go to any county in the state and would not find that many people working in the same direction with the same goals. And we hope you appreciate the hard work that our staff did to support the county in the efforts and enabled you to do what you did.
Absolutely, sir. I couldn't agree with you more. I think with that growth also comes the responsibility for all of us to keep up with that and to not only continue to provide the level of service that we have, but to also explore how we can increase that. And I don't want to outgrow the culture of our county, and I don't want to outgrow the culture of our sheriff's office. I know all of my staff, they know me. They do a phenomenal job, and I like having those relationships. As our county grows, and I see with some of the larger agencies, both in our region and throughout our state, that public safety solely becomes statistics and or numbers. And I'm happy to say that we don't have that culture here at our office, and nor do we have it through our partners with the rest of the county government. So as long as we can continue those relationships, keep them strong, keep pacing ourselves with the growth of our county, and keep ensuring that we're providing the highest level of service at the best expense, then I think we're moving in a positive direction.
Well, we're growing. We're not slowing down. We did last 10 years, 400 homes.
Yes, sir.
And we're going to continue to grow. We have 4,700 projects in the pipeline being constructed now. And a lot of these projects, thanks to hard work from staff, the park that we fought so hard to get a skateboard park for these people, and it's amazing. People have no idea how fast we're growing, and the hard part is convincing the people that they're not poor anymore. Because if you look around, that's like little Santa Ana back in, was it 68? It was just
I don't
growing.
remember 68, sir.
Huh?
I don't remember 68.
Well, I do. I was just got back from Vietnam then, but we're growing, and it's been an amazing journey to be a supervisor here this long and see this many people work together toward common goals and get positive results. It's stand by. We could go to sleep and do 400 a year for the next 10 years. So, anyhow.
Thank you.
Through the chair. Again, to echo the thanks to all the staff and all the departments. Something I wanted to point out to everybody was, the school resources officers are great, and they do a lot of giving our kids a face of law enforcement that they don't get to see unless they're in trouble. So that's I love that. But the something that you guys do that really affects the kids a ton every single day is taking all those drugs off the street. Because I'm not worried about, I'm not saying that's going to keep all those kids from smoking all that meth and everything else, but the kids are punished the least, and the drug dealers know that, the gangs know that. So these kids are out there pushing all these drugs, right? And by taking all that off the street, you're taking kids out of those situations where they're being victimized as drug dealers. They don't even know they're a drug dealer, and by the time they get done, they're in the system. They're over at Camp Singer. They're in our juvenile hall. They're loaded up, ready to go to jail for their little bit of money that they think is the going to change their world. So to see the amount of drugs you guys take off the street, it just know it's saving our youth, it's saving our next generation.
Sure, and that was exactly what I was going to add, Supervisor, is that the impacts that you can make on the youth now can stop that cycle of generational abuse. So those numbers are impressive. I'd like to see them go up, and I couldn't agree more. Thank you.
Yeah, and I just also want to echo the thank you to the code enforcement group. I know there's a lot of people out there that support, marijuana use and growing and things like that. But from the projects that we've seen and the things that they've taken down, it always ends up being a risk to environmental, a fire hazard in the middle of a forest, or in my case, escaped trained Malinois dogs that kill livestock. So it's just there's a lot of negative sides that go with that, and I just thank you guys for continuing to push back and fight that. I know it's not an easy fight, so thank you.
Thank you.
Through the chair, just want to echo the thank you from that's already been shared by my fellow board members for you and the entire sheriff's office.
Thank you, sir.
So through the chair, I'll give you a different thank you because I pulled up the QR code. Thank you for not having another pamphlet to pile up on our desk. So it's a lot easier to go through it online. I really appreciate it.
Great.
Yeah, and I just did want to point out that you do have a Yuba-Sutter Sheriff's Aero Squadron that you can call on, or we're wanting to get you. I know with drones, we're not getting used as much, but we'd like to be used more. It's absolutely free of the Sheriff's Department. And also the numbers are already cut way down from a year ago on the marijuana. So we're already getting that message out here that go somewhere else. And I read online yesterday, social media from Nevada County, they made a couple of big arrests up there. So I guess it's spreading what we're doing, spreading. So thank you.
Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was there a Zoom comment, Mary? Okay.
So we do have public communication. Any person may speak about any subject of concern, provided it is within the jurisdiction of the Board of Supervisors and is not already on today's agenda. The total amount of time allotted for receiving such public communication shall be limited to a total of 15 minutes, and each individual or group will be limited to no more than 3 minutes. Prior to this time, speakers are requested to fill out a request to speak card and submit it to the clerk of the Board of Supervisors. Please note, no board action can be taken on comments made under this heading. And through the chair, we do have 2 cards, but we have no one on Zoom.
All right.
So the first person we have is Tony Farley.
Yep, that's Andy over there. Andy. Tony Farley, over bridge, a dark side. It's called Sur County. Sutter County is controlled by FEMA, pretty much. Thank you, County Administrator, Chief Saxon for his service. Thank you, County Council, Majority for his service. Thank you, the Law Library. Don't forget to ask Erica to buy more printer. I need more ink. The ink's all gone. Hopefully get more printer ink. Thank you, County Council. McGeorge. Another McGeorge graduate is Seth Fuller. He's also a McGeorge graduate. Tax George too. There's Supervisor Mesquite, also the horse, the super stallion horse, and Great Bradford, another Sacramentan too. If feature George graduate too, hope you be George too. The new Sacramento pitch, MLB. Hope it happen. And don't forget Supervisor House, the big house, and don't forget. Congressman Annie Vasquez for Congress, hopefully. I support Annie Vasquez as Congress. That'd be awesome. It's Supervisor Annie Vasquez, also known as Reserve Deputy and Marine Corps and everything. Hope you go for Congress. And don't forget Rachel, the PIO Rachel, and Tom Porter, the Republican Central Committee person. And don't forget Under Sheriff from the UC Peace Power, Under Sheriff over there, 2 stars. And don't forget Veronica Broomgarden from Sutter County. Don't forget you can't spell Shiro bar HR. And don't forget Jeremy and everybody, and Jennifer for HSS. Everybody, thank you for your service.
Thank you, Tony.
Second person we have is Brock Baumgartner. I can see it.
My name is Brock Baumgartner, and I'm 10 years old in 5th grade at Browns Valley Elementary. This is my first year of 4-H, and I chose to raise a pig. My family has been raising pigs to eat for the last few years, but this is my first time raising a market pig. and taking care of one by myself. My pig's name is Miss Doubtfire, and she can be a little wild. Raising a pig mostly by myself has been challenging. It's been hard getting home very late from baseball and getting up early before school to check on her, but I know I have to do it. I chose her myself, and I am very happy. She is strong and healthy. As you can see from the picture, she has a good body structure and is very muscular. I will be sad to let her go, but I know she had a good time with me. I would like to invite you to the Junior Livestock Auction on Saturday, June 21st at the Yuba-Sutter Fair at 9 a.m. With the money I get from selling her, I plan to first pay back my loan from my grandpa and pay my parents for her feed. After that, I would like to open my first bank account and start saving for a truck. 16 isn't so far away. I hope you will consider buying Mrs. Doubtfire. I am sure she will be very yummy. Thank you for consideration and support. From Brock.
That was excellent, Brock. Thank you so much. Please. Great job, Brock. And now, if only our auditor controller will be as charming and cute.
So that is agenda item 259-2026, Auditor Controller. Approve amendment number 3 to contract with Ronnie Craig Goodman Jr., Certified Public Accountant for Property Tax Consulting Services for the term of December 1st, 2024 through November 30th, 2029, and authorize chair to execute.
Thank you. Richard Everly, Auditor Controller. Members of the board, Mr. Chairman, good morning. I apologize to Brock that I don't know if I can follow that presentation. That's, this is definitely not as interesting as Mrs. Doubtfire. I appreciate that. Definitely not as interesting. But no, I'm here today to talk about a contract extension for a property tax consultant. We currently have been under contract with this consultant for a number of years, and they have provided some amazing services to me and my staff. During a transition period where our existing property tax person had left, and then we brought on a couple of new people who had significantly less experience. This consultant has helped us train staff, strengthen our operations, and point us in a good direction. We've extended the contract a number of times. The current contract ends on November 30th of this year, and we'd like to extend the contract. There's a number of reasons why I want to do that. There's additional improvements we like to make in our office, and additionally, those involve process improvements, utilizing the tax software that we invest in more robustly. That's one of the big things. On a side note, I've been working with the other 36 counties in the state that use our property tax software called Megabyte to find ways to leverage it better and also bring the software vendor to the table to make improvements that we all have wanted for a number of years. And this consultant has used that, has been able to leverage that software more, so make their operations a little bit more robust. One of the biggest components of this contract extension, the plan, is to do something called a TRA consolidation. Again, this is not as interesting, anywhere near as interesting as pig sales at the Yuba-Sutter Fair, because it's a little bit esoteric. But the property tax function underpins a lot of what goes on in the county. And the TRAs are kind of a baseline for that, foundational to that. So I'll go through, I have a quick presentation. Again, it's esoteric, but I'll try to make it not too boring. TRAs, what they are is tax rate areas, and they basically are geographical area that are unique in their taxing entities, and they have the same type of people provide services or have authority in certain areas over that geographical area, including that service. So, for example, if you live in Olivehurst or in Browns Valley or in Lomarica or Wheatland, each of those entities has services that are provided. If it's government management services by a city or county, or if there are water services or fire services, each of those are entities that provide services to specific geographic areas. And then based on your also where you live, you will pay various school bonds. and that kind of thing. So those are how the TRAs, those geographical areas, are determined. So when we talk about TRAs for the rest of the presentation, it means tax rate area. Those are, again, geographical areas that are taxed similarly. Okay. Excuse me. Currently, the process to manage the TRAs in Yuba County involves two people. It's LAFCO and the Board of Equalization. And anytime there's a change, an update, or whatever to those geographical areas, if we want to get a new subdivision, or if one jurisdiction, for example, like a fire district, Linda Fire did this past year, they wanted to provide services to Marysville. LAFCO was involved. They had to submit a bunch of requests to the Board of Equalization to have those things authorized. And basically, it changes who can provide services in which geographic area. And what happens is the LAFCO makes a determination. They send it to the Board of Equalization, and then the Board of Equalization sends it to the county, my office, to make the recommended changes. The result of that over the years is the county currently has roughly 625 individual geographic areas. Of those, roughly 420 can be considered similar or duplicates or what we call lookalikes. So they behave similarly, so they don't necessarily need to exist. And that's because we don't have local control. A couple conversations with departments in the past, the Board of Equalization doesn't know what we do here in Yuba County because they don't need to. They're a statewide entity. They don't focus on us. So focusing on because of they don't focus on us, we've resulted in this situation where there's a large number of duplicates. So the process that goes on for consolidating TRAs is kind of a four-step process. Remove non-essential items. We evaluate the existing TRAs for proper configuration, so make sure the right entities are in the right spot. We merge those together, the ones that we can, and then the biggest component of that is we end up with a county-controlled management system for these changes. And that giving it local control is one of the biggest components of that. And so it changes the process going forward. So why am I asking for a consultant? First of all, the experience. None of my staff, nor me, nor anybody else in the county has had experience doing TRA consolidations. One of the biggest things that I'm afraid of is we don't know what we don't know. And so this consultant has done consolidations before, and they know they know what they didn't know at the time. So they were able to learn from their efforts and can recommend those to us. They have some tools and resources that we can leverage to improve our process, but also the big thing is they've set up a TRA management process, which will give us local control. We want to do it right the first time, make the best decision we can. So that's why I'm asking for the resources for a consultant. Now, there's a number of, I'm going to go, the last couple of slides talk about who benefits and kind of how they benefit. We would like to think that the TRAs is an esoteric type thing. There's only a few people that utilize that information, but in actuality, it's a larger scope. The auditor's office starts the process. We're the ones that manage the TRA configuration. So we're the ones that control the data, who works in which geographic area. When there's less to manage, we can get through the process quicker. It increases our efficiencies in the office to allow us to do more work quicker and then focus necessary resources elsewhere. Another beneficiary of this is the assessor's office. They have a huge component in this because they manage the maps. The maps are going to change. The TRA maps are going to change. They have a map of every TRA in the county, and those are going to, of necessity, change. But if you have less resources less maps to control, then there's a little bit less work you have to do. One of the things I want to point out, because I had to chat with the assessor recently about a situation they have, and it illustrates the need for local control. Back in 2015, when there was a TRA change proposed, and the county kind of pushed back on the Board of Equalization about it, saying this operates a certain way. It should be configured with this group and not the group that the BOE proposed. Well, the BOE said, we're the ones in charge of managing that process. You need to do it this way. So because of the way it was set up, they did it the way the Board of Equalization recommended. Now, over succeeding years since 2015, they have had conversations with them frequently about that and see what we can do to get it changed and rectified. Finally, last year, 2025, the Board of Equalization finally agreed with the county that, yeah, we kind of agree with what you originally proposed, and they recommended we change it back. So we did that last year. So it took 10 years of a process, communication back and forth to get what the county originally knew to be correct. Should we have local management, that process would happen a lot more quickly. It'd take less time to do that. So there's less effort on our part to get the job done. Two other departments benefit from this. The GIS and planning department. Now, this is an interesting situation because the GIS is a great functionality here in the county because it serves many departments and functions. They provide visual representations of all kinds of data. From a TRA perspective, if somebody pulls a permit, for example, they can use the TRA data to find if a permit needs to be, there are other agencies that need to be involved in a permit. So if you pull a permit in like Blooms Lake or Olivehurst, you need to go to OPUD or Linda Fire for additional information. So that kind of stuff is there. But in addition, GIS can help the TRA management process by, again, providing visual representations of any proposed changes. And finally, something that was kind of news to me, but as I talked, elections is a big user of the TRA data because the county has dozens of jurisdictions with elected boards. And the election staff dedicate substantial resources during the election process to ensure all eligible voters for each of the jurisdictions are properly identified and ensure the voters receive the correct ballots. That's a huge effort on that. We've just having gone through the election last week. That's a huge thing for the elections. The TRA consolidation will reduce the workload on the election staff to identify any necessary, identify the ballots where they should go. It will reduce the complexity and the opportunity for errors in verifying where the ballot should go. So, just as a reminder, the point of this process is to simplify the workload across multiple departments, decrease complexity across multiple departments, and create a system where we have local control over the geographical groupings of TRAs. This contract is also finite duration. The proposal is to end in 2029, and this is a multiple year process. We don't expect to spend all the money in the first year because it's a multi-year. It's going to be a multi-year process. It's not something to be one and done. There'll be refinements and reiterations, but it's finite. Once we're done with the project, we should have a robust system where we have local control, and we know what we're doing, and we can operate independently without the need for the consultant. And one of the reasons why I request the use of Measure K funds is because property taxes is an essential function for many agencies in the county. We process in excess of $110 million in allocations and direct assessments on the tax roll. That provides the largest source of discretionary revenue to many of the agencies and governmental agencies in the county. So this is an essential service. However, if you opt not to do Measure K, I request to identify any other funding resources because this becomes an essential service. Again, in excess of $110 million passes through my office and uses this information and this function to do so. Again, I'm open for any questions.
That was a great presentation. I actually didn't like the issue when I first saw it on the agenda, and so you answered most of my questions. What would be my ROI? So I'm going to give you $100,000. The reason this is let me rephrase, back up. The people that you're going to be contracting with is somebody that we had a previous contract with that was helping you with a software on other issues. This is a new thing that you're now adding for them to be doing with you. This is not something they've been working on for the last couple of years, specifically the TRA part.
Correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
And then what am I going to get? You mentioned that there's going to be some efficiencies, there's going to be reduction in workloads, but what is that going to measure out? Is that going to reduce an employee position across the board overall? So would you say that I'd be a payback in 3 years, 5 years? What is my actual gain?
You know, that's a great question, and I don't have an answer for that, which I probably should. And it's hard to quantify because the gains in the efficiency in the process will allow us to dedicate resources elsewhere. I don't expect it to reduce costs overall because, no, that's not true. I expect to reduce costs through reducing inefficiencies because those resources could then be dedicated elsewhere. I don't expect a cost reduction because of this. I expect efficiency gains and the ability to focus resources on improving elsewhere. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's the answer I have because it's hard to quantify.
Sure,
but I appreciate the question.
Yeah, the reason is because if 10 years ago we had 400 duplicate places and we've suffered through that for the last 10 years, then there's some sort of cost associated with that loss of efficiency, right? And so the question is this going to compensate? Because we don't want to fix something that's an insignificant problem, right?
No, that's a fair point. One of the biggest reasons why now is an opportune time to do it is because I have 2 staff dedicated to property taxes as opposed to 1 in the past. And it's a resource issue. There's a lot of it's not complex math, but it's involved processes to get to the consolidated result.
So then this would save half a position?
It's, again, not saving time or not saving expenses or anything, but it's going to allow them to focus on other things. So
That will prevent you from asking for a 3rd position?
Through the chair, how much is it going to cost?
100,000.
the request is for 100,000.
Okay, be a good idea if you put that in the,
And through the chair.
okay.
So in our packet, it does show the amount. It's the contract amount.
Yeah, and I apologize if it wasn't
And
clear.
it's down to like $225 an hour, up to 149,000 or something is what it
Correct.
is. But the my question is on TRAs. Is that's kind of how we calculate and distribute property tax revenue. And I know the last time we implemented software, I have to hear about it from every agency in the North State that we don't know, or our books aren't closed, so we don't know how much interest they're getting, or their interest payments weren't on time. So I think I'm okay with doing this in the future, but I think before we need to worry about this, I want to kind of a update on the software that we use to calculate the interest and our full accounting software, because I want to make sure that our property taxes payments to all the other agencies and the interest payments from the money that we hold in Treasury are going to people on time, and the books are getting closed on time before we open another can of worms. But and being that how complex this is, the TRA process, if there are errors, then that means money is going to get delivered disproportionately, and it's going to be hard to correct. So I know there's a lot of time and hours spent right now analyzing all the different boundaries and the benefits for things like GIS mapping and the elections clerk. But if we're using internal sources to gather our GIS information for these districts or the TRAs, then I just hope we have a really good consultant that's going to get it right the first time. So
Gotcha. Thank you. And again, I appreciate your concerns and your questions. To the point on the finance system, the data that's used this again has no relation to the finance system, and the calculation of the interest rates has nothing to do with this. And I'm pretty sure you're aware of that. I just want to make that clear. We're closer than we have been. We've closed through March of this year, which has been a huge step. And this week we're planning on closing April. And the interest component of that, I know there's been some concerns from other districts about their interest in getting their interest and that kind of thing. No entity has lost any interest as a result of the financing for implementation. The information's been delayed to them. That is given. I've talked to them on many different occasions about that. But I expect that we'll be up to par within a month or two of that. So the agencies will begin to get reports on a more regular basis, more consistent basis in about a month or two.
And my other point on that was that I know you're a small office too, and so having a couple of big projects like that might be difficult. But
I get it, and that's the reason for the consultant.
Yeah.
So they can point us in the right direction.
But you're going to also need to train staff on how to do these things for the future, right? Or how to manage it and find errors.
That's the purpose. That's the purpose of the consultant. They're going to be specifically tasked for this. This will involve the 2 property tax staff, myself, and possibly my systems analyst in the office. But outside of that, it should not impair any of the finance functions, because other staff resources are dedicated to that. So again, thank you for the questions, and I hope I've laid your concerns.
Thank you, Rich.
I had one more question. Local control. So Board of Equalization and LAFCO are the ones who are making these determinations. Why, after you get rid of the 420 duplicates, do they no longer still make those determinations?
Because that's one of the provisions of a consolidation process. When they do that, the Board of Equalization says, now that you've reduced the workload, you now have the ability to control.
Okay, so this is a process that ends with the reward that we get to have that.
Correct.
And if we don't do this, we don't get that reward.
Correct.
Okay. Is that something that was implemented recently?
No, this has been something that's been at least for decades.
Okay, so then I guess before the 420 duplicates were made, why didn't we have control?
Because we never went through this process. And I don't know the specifics of why it never has been done before, other than the fact that staff resources have been at a premium.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Is there a motion? Sorry, is there any public comment? Mr. McWhorter?
So moved.
I had a comment after too.
Okay.
I'll second.
Morning, Board. Order, Yuba County. Is this on? Okay. Through the chair. Right, Kevin? Okay. Up until Andy mentioned it, how much is this contract valued at? It's not here on our paper. So now I understand it's 100,000. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Through the chair, how long do you expect that this contractor will be, his services be needed?
3 years.
3 years. Okay. And during that time, are you guys going to be like looking over their shoulder? Excuse me, through the chair. Are you going to be looking over their shoulder, or are they going to actually like be training you and your staff to perform these functions after the 3 years?
Excellent question. They're going to be looking over our staff's shoulder and directing them how to get it done.
So more of a trainer role.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's why I specify that this is a finite, it's not, I can't say it's a one-time ask or it's a one-time expenditure, but it's a finite series of expenditures.
Through the chair, but is that in written form available to the public, or do we have to refer back to the video audio?
If I may, Tom, there's attachments on the digital agenda, and so there'll be different files there. And so one of the files is their contract that they'll have. So that's where we have the information for the 100,000, for instance. So
Okay.
on the digital part. So this is just an abbreviated agenda, but there's a more in-depth agenda. It's like 300, 600 pages long.
Not all of us come as well prepared.
Absolutely.
Okay, we don't have the help of the staff. Thank you, though. And then the last question, I'll make it short. You mentioned that we have 420 possible duplicates. Will we experience any revenue loss or gain if you decide that these duplicates in fact do exist and choose to do something about it? Say, consolidate them to eliminate their duplicacy?
The answer, no, there will be neither a loss or a gain. Actually, I've reached out to the state controller's office. Every 5 years or so, we get an audit from the state controller's office where they check our property tax calculations. And by statute, this cannot result in either an increase or decrease in the property tax allocation or revenue.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Tom. I had a first and a second, but I had one more public comment. Sorry, board comment.
Yeah, I just had a question on the Measure K side of this. So that Measure K dollar is supposed to be used for public safety, and I understand this improves efficiency, which helps public safety and the division of all those TRAs. But I don't quite understand. This kind of moves it into the administrative portion of the Measure K dollar. When we see the reports of Measure K, like how much was spent on sheriff's deputies and fire trucks and all those things, that resonates really well with me. But when I start seeing admin positions and consultants for tax purposes, kind of pushes me away from the Measure K dollar. So I'd be interested to know, Kevin, if there's any other funding sources for this.
So Supervisor Reddick, yeah, there's definitely a couple of layers there to it, but Measure K is a general purpose tax and can be used by the board in any such manner the board chooses. Right, with the priority is definitely public safety and essential services, and I believe Rich pointed out that he was making the argument that this is another essential service. But the next layer down, the item before you today is just an amendment to an existing contract. There's no budget adjustment attached, so there's no dedication of any Measure K funds as part of this action today as presented.
That's correct.
That's something that the board would need to discuss. What I see happening here is if the board approves this today, this will be added to an ask list that then the board can discuss at the August budget workshop on how best to fund this amendment to the contract.
Through the chair, I just want to echo those comments. I know it's a general tax and it supports essential services and public safety, and the board has the flexibility to use the money however we want. I do think this is important. I would prefer that it have another funding source if one can be proposed, because I believe the public expects us to spend the vast majority of Measure K funds on public safety. And I do worry about, veering from that too far. Again, I know this is perfectly legal under the measure, but I just want to maintain appropriate public perception.
Mr. Chair, may I make an additional comment?
Please.
I want to remind the board that of how we came about with Measure K. Measure K was proposed as a general tax and not a specific tax. And it was proposed as the county made the arguments to the constituents and throughout the county. It was said that the board spends the majority of its discretionary money on public safety, but it was not a public safety tax. That even went to court. And because there are different voting thresholds and approval thresholds for special taxes, which a public safety tax would have been, as opposed to a general tax. And when it was voted on, it was adjudicated, and the county was sued by the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association because they claimed it was a special tax specifically dedicated to public safety, and the county argued it was not. And the county prevailed in that lawsuit because it is a general tax. It is not specifically dedicated to public safety, and if it was, then it was misrepresented to the voters. And in this situation, I bring that up just for protection for the board. We've talked about this a number of times over the years and over the life of the Measure K. It was for essential services, as Mr. Mallon specified, and and the board can absolutely choose to dedicate however it chooses, and that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that remember that this is not a public safety tax, and it delves into problems should we declare it as a public safety tax. So, thank you.
Through the chair. I think that after explaining where the source of funds coming from and the fact that we want to make sure that it adheres to what the Measure K inspection board says, we table this and bring it back with another source of funding.
So perhaps I misunderstood, Kevin. I thought, go ahead, would you like to repeat?
Yeah, so if I could through the chair. So the action item today is a request from Rich to continue on with a project to consolidate tax rate areas. It does not have a budget adjustment with it. We're not dedicating Measure K funds as part of this. In his staff report, he would request Measure K funds, but that's something that'll be a future board action. So we do have time, if the board so chooses to move forward with the item today, we could discuss at the August budget workshop how best to fund this and then do that as part of adopted budget in September. Or the board could, as Supervisor Vasquez mentioned, we could table this until after the board has a discussion at the August budget workshop and then move forward after that.
Move to table it.
I'll second.
I have a question now. Is that going to foul up the contract we already have with the consultant if we table this till August,
It
September?
won't foul up the contract we currently have with a consultant. It may just delay starting the process, but it won't foul it up.
Because I think we already have kind of direction as the majority of the board would like to extend the contract and find another source of funding other than Measure K. I agree with Gary and Rennick on that, so.
Call the question. Get a first and a second.
Well, to be correct, and somebody else can clarify if I'm wrong about what I'm about to say. We don't make a motion to table. You made a motion to do it. I assume that by making a motion to table, you're rescinding your original motion, is what I think you're really doing. And so, if that's correct. And so what we're now doing is waiting for a motion to be made. No one's going to make that motion, it sounds like. And so it will be tabled effectively. I think that's how it works. But
Mr. Chairman,
correct me
just
if
point
that's
of
not the
order,
case.
parliamentary procedure. This is the motion to table has been interrupted the motion to approve.
Oh, okay.
So
then that is a motion.
As parliamentary procedure, this is absolutely appropriate.
Okay. So then do we have a second on the motion to table? Yeah. Okay, then we will vote on that unless there's any other comment. Okay. Do we want to do a roll call vote? Go ahead.
Supervisor Vasquez,
Yes.
Supervisor House?
Yes.
Supervisor Fuhr?
Sure.
Supervisor Bradford?
No.
Supervisor Messick?
No.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
So we'll table it to the August meeting?
If I could, through the chair, that would be my suggestion. I know we're getting ahead of ourselves, but as part of the presentation today, we'll be discussing it as far as each individual department providing items that they would like the board consideration on as part of the August budget workshop. Rich could add this to his list of items for consideration, and then we could have a discussion as part of that on how best to fund it.
Thank you.
Next agenda item is 281-2026, Community Development and Services. Approve the Climate Adaptation Capital Improvement Plan.
Good morning, Brian Michelson, Public Works Director. I have Ashley Smith here with me today from Verdantis. She's going to give us a presentation on the Climate Adaptation and Capital Improvement Plan. This originated with a study that was done a couple years ago to look at climate change and what impacts that has on our county. From that, we have looked at the infrastructure needed based upon that. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Ashley for the presentation.
Morning. How are y'all doing today? Happy to be here. Appreciate your time. I'm excited to talk about our climate adaptation plan. And if I can figure out. Perfect, thank you. So what I'm going to go over today is just a little bit of background, the purpose of the study, go over the study areas, our methodology, talk about our flood risk findings, our recommended improvements, CIP, and what we are asking forward. So this study was a phase 2 study that built on a phase 1 vulnerability analysis that was done in 2023. It looks at the clay soil types of the study area and past improvements, but what gaps remain here is the key question of the study. It was funded by FTA, FHWA, and Caltrans, and there were 2 community outreach workshops to engage the public as part of the study. So on the right here, you will see the 3 study areas, West Linda, East Linda, and Olivehurst. These areas, we developed a comprehensive model using a software called PC-SWIM. And this model was validated by findings from the repetitive loss properties through the NFIP program. So based on that, we were able to validate these have had experienced flood issues, and that validated some of the results of our models. We evaluated the model on 10-year, 25-year, and 100-year storm events. And some of the key issues that we found, summarized quickly here by the 3 areas. East Linda, the primary area of concern was the Heil-Dunning area. West Linda, the Hamilton-Smartsville corridor, tied to the Avondale Pump Station, which is a RD 784 facility. I'll pause here and highlight that 784 was part of a technical advisory committee that reviewed this report and provided input as well. And then in the Olivehurst area was the Johnson Park area, and a couple of the areas that just have roadside ditches currently and don't have any physical infrastructure. We also looked at some of the key crossings for some of the primary backbone infrastructure that's there today to evaluate whether their capacity was sufficient. So just going area by area, starting with East Linda. Like I said, the primary area, which the county already has a design project in process, is the Dunning Avenue Safe Routes to School area, which is highlighted on the top left. And then the remaining areas are consistent because we wanted to prioritize being consistent with prior studies that have been done in the area. So the South Yuba Drainage Master Plan, carrying forward some projects that were not yet completed as the next priority here. West Linda, the high priority areas here, again, highlighting the Hamilton-Smartsville corridor that is tied to the Avondale Pump Station. And that also impacts some of the Rupert Park area. and then some additional projects to close gaps where there's currently not drainage. Olivehurst primary area is the Johnson Park area, which is affiliated with a ditch that would be lined, and that would help provide mitigation for some of the impacts that they're seeing there. And then the following areas, Mary and George, College, Ardmore, these areas just don't have consistent drainage throughout them. So providing a more comprehensive plan here, and then a detention basin at the bottom of the system, which is where it's the purple area there at the bottom of the screen, that would allow for some of the additional inflows that come from OPUD and discussions they're having that would allow the county to accommodate some of the changes that are happening there. Okay, so the purpose of this study was to develop a CIP. Grant requirements here were to create a 5-year, 20-year CIP projection. Main thing I want to emphasize with this is that this is just a projection to meet the grant requirements. We put years to these, but that is subject to change. So we put estimates together to help the county have a comprehensive plan on how to proceed with infrastructure. What's the biggest priority? And this document would then be used to pursue grant funding with technical analysis and backing. So there are years tied here, but that's strictly to comply with the grant requirements, subject to change based on grant funding and availability. So our implementation priorities were to target the areas that our modeling efforts show as the highest risk, then provide consistency with any projects that had identified from prior studies that were not yet completed, and then capturing any gaps in infrastructure, improving county O&M, and making sure we're taking feedback from the community, the people that are living here, and incorporating that into the analysis. So the highest priority areas were the Johnson Park areas, the Linda and Dunning Avenue area, which I mentioned is already in design, and then the 5-acre detention basin at the bottom of Olivehurst. So the requested board action here is, again, to adopt the plan, not the years that are highlighted in the CAP. Those are qualified as estimated targets, just to help prioritize where we should start pursuing funding first. And adopting this would give the county the ability to take a comprehensive plan and pursue funding to help implement what the plan recommends.
If I may, I'm slightly confused. This is not saying that we're going to allocate $26 million from our budget over the next 5 years. This is saying we're going to request grants over the next 5 years for that $26 million?
Correct.
If we're going to be asking for grants, why would we only do $26 million? Why not ask for more?
So the other part of this is through this, we're updating our Nexus fees or Nexus study. Within that, we will be determining impact fees. So when we charge developers the impact fees, that will also go into a drainage fund that we can use for these projects. That can be used for a match for these projects or for these grant funds. And we're hoping we get a lot of grants for these or some grants, but we will need those impact fees as leverage as our match.
So are we going to collect $26 million in impact fees over the next 5 years?
No.
Okay. So again, I'm just curious, why wouldn't we dream bigger? Because in the past couple of years, we've done much more than $26 million in capital improvements. Is that correct? Something like $60 to $100 million that we've done?
I don't have those numbers in front of me.
Okay. In the last couple of years, we've done a lot.
Yeah.
And so something like in that scale of that number. So I was just curious why we're coming down to only 26 million when in the last 5 years we did 100 million.
And through the chair, just a point of clarification. So this study is a result of a grant that we received for this type of work, right? The drainage, identifying these areas, things like that. So I think that's where these were specifically earmarked by the study that they did for areas that are at risk for, what's the word for it? It's made up, so I have to look it up. Hang on. It's, how do you put this thing? The climate adaptation study.
Right, but my point is we could be asking for 50 million for these first 5 years, 50 million for the next 5 years. What made us choose the 26 million mark is my question.
Brian, maybe I could jump in if I could through the chair just to help. I think this was just trying to set some realistic expectations to prioritize efforts. Ideally, we'd do the whole $161 million all at once, but that's not realistic. And so kind of looking at priorities as far as where's the most imminent threat, likelihood of finding grant money, that type of thing. How would we phase it out over a number of years?
Okay. Let me ask it differently. This is not a cap. This isn't where we're going to ask for lots more than this. Is that correct and accurate?
Correct. It's 161 million for all projects we identified.
Okay.
So each of these projects have cost estimates as part of the study. We were trying to provide a more or less realistic time frame. They're all estimated targets though, so there's no commitment to how much we pursue now versus later.
Okay.
Through the chair, it sounds like, you know, different grant programs probably have different local match, right? And so on the realistic side, this probably has a little bit to do with how much is in each grant program and how much local match they require and how much local match we think we might be able to have at each of those times. I mean, I agree. I think we've been very fortunate the last few years to win very large grants and have the water agency pay the local match for those grants. You know, I know programs fluctuate in, you know, maybe they, at least on the Safe Routes to School side, I know there's a lot less funding for that now than there was previously, both at the state and I don't know about the federal level, but certainly the state and regional level, there's much less funding for that than there was in recent years. And especially without the Yuba Water Agency having the match in the short term, I can see where realistically you'd have to present a picture that's a little bit more spread out. And of course, we would want to ask for as much as we possibly could, though.
Correct. And through the chair, that Avondale project that was posted there, it's kind of strange because I sit on the Yuba-Sutter Transit Authority too, and that's actually where their flood resilient transit center is going, right in the middle of that, right? So I saw you have FTA as possible funding sources, so maybe work with the transit Yuba-Sutter Transit Authority, just because they definitely have all of their grants and their plan for that site say it's a flood resilient site, and it has studies that go along with that as well. But there might be FTA funding for any drainage that might be affected by that development as well. So, and I know they have extra property there too. So, thank you.
So one other question, under the 2036 to 2041, you have Ardmore listed as part of the 27.5 million. I think we currently have $13 million allocated to Ardmore, don't we?
We do for a full road reconstruction as well as drainage, and we're moving forward with that. So as we mentioned earlier, we can shuffle these projects around. That was put in there for demonstration purposes, but yeah, absolutely, we'll be working on that project in the near future.
Okay, so then that is the same project that is already funded and would not be then part of that.
To clarify, that portion of Ardmore is a separate portion. It's more south, I think, from what's currently in design. So anything that is planned to be in design is on this front 5-year.
Okay, thank you.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, is there any public comment? All right, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next agenda is 285-2026, Admin Services. Approved budget adjustment requesting the amount of $79,940 to various accounts for the purchase of an electric vehicle to be used by the Agricultural Commissioner.
Good morning, Chair and board members. I'm Jolene Harper. I have to go lower as I'm too short. Can you hear me now?
No, you gotta move the mic. There you go.
This one?
There you go.
Both of them together, yep.
Is that good?
I guess. So.
No? Want me to speak louder then?
There you go.
There you go.
Okay. Good morning, Chair and board members. I am Jolene Harper with Administrative Services. I'm here today to request a budget transfer for our automotive service fund. This is coming to you because on May 12th, your board approved the Ag Department electrical vehicle purchase. And all this is doing is giving me revenue so that the automotive service fleet can purchase the vehicle and then manage it so that the Ag Department can reimburse us. There's no general fund impact, and if you have any questions, I'm willing to answer them.
Through the chair. Do you need a vehicle?
I don't need a vehicle. The Ag Department came to the board on May 12th, and the board approved an electric vehicle purchase. And so all this is doing is it will go into our automotive service fund fleet. We manage the vehicle, but the Ag Department is actually going to purchase the vehicle and just reimburse our fleet, the automotive service fund fleet.
I don't think we need an electric vehicle.
We approved it last meeting though, so I would move to approve.
I'll second.
Excellent. Is there any public comment? All right, roll call vote.
Supervisor Vasquez,
No.
Supervisor House,
Yes.
Supervisor Fuhr,
Yes.
Supervisor Bradford,
Yes.
Supervisor Messick.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you. Next agenda item we have is Board of Supervisors adopt resolution by Yuba County Board of Supervisors expressly rejecting sanctuary jurisdiction policies and affirming lawful cooperation with federal authorities.
Through the chair. So I had asked at previous board meetings that we come up with a policy to declare that we're not a sanctuary county and that we will continue to work with the federal agencies as lawfully allowed and required. Over the last year, we've had a ad hoc committee that met a few times to make sure that the resolution that we come up with is something that is not going to get us any legal trouble with the state of California, but represents the intentions of the county pretty well. So what you have before you, there's three of them sitting here. One is the redlined edition, which would be legal counsel's request to change the version that was attached to the board agenda. And then the one you most recently received, which is kind of a little bit blurry, that's the one that was attached to the agenda. That would be the one that I would recommend that we approve. It has a little bit more stern language, but county council can advise.
All right, is there any public comment? Did county council want to make any comment?
My mic's not coming on.
In that case, since there's no legal counsel comment, is there any motions?
Borrow Kevin's mic.
Through the chair, I do have some additional board comments before we vote that I just wanted to share. So I understand and support the board's desire to ensure Yuba County is not mislabeled as a sanctuary jurisdiction. Whether we agree with that label or not, there are legitimate concerns that the designation could put federal funding at risk or place an unnecessary target on Yuba County and our residents. At the same time, we also don't want a target on our backs from the state of California. And so I know that's what this resolution is attempting to do. As a county government, our responsibility is not to pick and choose which laws we follow. We must comply with both federal and state law. And I believe that this resolution recognizes that reality. I also think it's important to acknowledge that immigration is a much larger issue than the resolution before us today. Most people I talk to want a secure border. They also want people who are willing to work hard, contribute to our society, and pursue the American dream to have that opportunity. Unfortunately, it's my opinion our immigration system is broken and doesn't make that very easy. Most people I speak with, and national polling generally reflects the same view, believe that individuals who are here illegally and commit serious crimes should be deported. It's common sense, and I agree with that. Where many Americans disagree is what should happen to people who are already here, working, paying taxes, raising families, and contributing positively to their communities. Many people, including me, believe our federal government should be creating pathways for those individuals to obtain legal status rather than simply treating them the same as dangerous criminals. I'm also troubled by stories of people who are trying to follow the rules, but are stuck in a system that doesn't work. I personally know of individuals who came here legally as refugees, have no criminal record, and have been waiting for answers from the federal government regarding their status. Not a denial, just no response. I think that's unacceptable. Again, we can't control that as Yuba County. Rather than focusing on enforcement efforts for people who are appearing for immigration hearings and attempting to comply with the process, I would rather see our federal government focus on fixing the broken system and prioritizing enforcement on individuals who pose general threats to our public safety. My final concern about this resolution is the message that it may send. Some undocumented members of our community may hear this action and conclude that Yuba County does not want them here. I want to be clear that's not my view. When it comes to serious criminals, I fully support cooperation with federal immigration authorities and efforts to remove those individuals from our communities. Public safety needs to come first. But I do not support the deportation of people whose only offense is their immigration status when they are otherwise working, contributing, raising families, and being productive members of society. So I will be voting yes on this resolution because I believe Yuba County should comply with the law and avoid being inaccurately labeled in a way that could harm our residents. But I also believe we can support lawful cooperation with federal authorities while recognizing that many people in our communities are contributing members of society and that our immigration system desperately needs reform.
Thank you.
Now it's working. So basically, I provided some changes for clarification based on some additional work on this. And your board can discuss those changes and decide whether you want to go with the original version or not. I can provide explanation for the changes if the board is interested.
Through the chair, I'm interested to hear the explanation for the changes.
County Council's goal is always to keep the county in the most legally defensible position. After this first version, I continued my research on this, and I provided these changes, as I said, to clarify. The reason was wanting to ensure that nothing in this resolution could be misconstrued to say that the county is intending to violate SB 54. The concern was whether expressly rejects could possibly get misconstrued in that way, as the county saying that it wouldn't follow SB 54 California Values Act. There's no exact authority on what exact wording will be legally defensible that I could locate. So in county council's research, we just try and find bookends is kind of how I would phrase it. So I did find one resolution where they went so far as to say they were exempt from SB 54, which resulted in a lawsuit against that jurisdiction where they ended up having to pay legal fees. And then I found another one saying that they were opposed, and I found no publicly available information to indicate they were sued. And so that was my reason for making the suggested change from expressly rejects to saying expressly opposes. And then in section 3, I added county there because it was my understanding regarding that particular section that we were, the board was without attempting to, of course, limit any future board vote or discretion of the sheriff, giving basic direction to county staff that they were not going to be in favor of county policies that would attempt to do those three things. And so it seemed like somewhere along the way in the revisions, county got dropped out of that. And so that's why I had added back in. So those are my explanations of the requested changes, but it is up to your board because, as I said, it's not an exact science here on these resolutions, other than just making sure we don't come out and say we're not going to follow SB 54 California Values Act.
And through the chair, when I wrote this, I made it very, very clear. It says legal section or legal compliance and limitation, section 5. Nothing in this resolution shall be construed to require actions prohibited by state or federal law. override mandatory provisions of state statute or binding court orders, or violate constitutional rights. So, I mean, I think that's a pretty good catch-all section on the limitation. So I would move that we approve the original as presented with our board packet.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a first and a second. I think I already asked for public comment, so we will move to the vote. And I'm sorry, there is public comment. Thank you. I didn't see it.
Good morning, Board. Nick Morzinski again with the Sheriff's Office. I did have a chance to review the original resolution that was put forward, and there was a recommendation from the Sheriff's Office to denote within that resolution that the discretion lies with the sheriff of the county as to what cooperation level will be made with other public safety entities, whether it be federal, state, or local. I'm not certain at this point.
That was included. Yep.
Okay.
So there's a whole section on there about the sheriff retains its discretion and for constitutionality as well.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you, Undersheriff.
All the question?
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Through the chair, before we do the budget presentation, can we take a 5-minute break?
So we're going to do these two pulled items.
See what more than $1 billion buys local government and schools. At the 3 p.m. Sutter County Supervisors meeting, the county's $551.6 million recommended budget gets its public presentation. Sutter County firefighters anticipate a new 2-year contract and a 2% raise. A behavioral health provider gets a nearly $500,000 budget boost in a separate action. There's been a 76% rise in certain types of behavioral health conservatees between July 2023 and March of 2026. More care is needed. The money is from state and federal sources. And a retired Sutter County K-9 named Hitch goes home with his handler for $1,500. Supervisors are expected to say yes to the switch for Hitch, something to woof about. Around 6:30 p.m., Marysville Joint Unified School District trustees also get a walk through the district's 2026-27 income and spending plan. It's $215.8 million across the district. There's a public hearing. People can ask questions, weigh in. Adding it up, every kindergartner through 8th grader in the Marysville Unified School District could be learning math differently next year. Marysville school trustees will hold a public hearing, then a vote on a new district-wide math curriculum Tuesday night. Parents who want to weigh in have at least one chance before the gavel comes down. At 7 p.m., the Yuba City Unified School Trustees also hold a public hearing on YCUSD's $240 million budget, along with the accountability plan that shows where the money goes and who it serves. The board votes on 10 electric school buses. That's an $8.8 million purchase, covered almost entirely by state and PG&E grants, the district's picking up just $577,000. And at 15 Yuba City schools, 6,000 students are getting more music, dance, and digital arts, mariachi, ballet folklorico, and a new digital animation pathway. The annual arts report gets its board approval tonight. It's all live right here.
Tuesday on Government Watch, you can support or sponsor. Help keep the community aware with Yuba-Sutter.LIVE. Tuesday on Government Watch, you can support or sponsor. Help keep the community aware with Yuba-Sutter.LIVE.
A public comment to be made?
Yes, if we can have Pearl Wedgeworth come forward, please.
Yes, I'm here asking, we have an ongoing homeless camp problem around us. And on the weekends, they party, we hear screaming, they go on our property, we hear young children screaming, terrible screams. And I go to Thousand Trails, I've seen 3 young girls with a man that lied to get on to the property to go to the pool. We thought he possibly was a homeless person that was human trafficking children. We would like this looked into by a intake worker. I talked to Health and Human Services last Friday up in Brownsville, and we would really appreciate, we feel very poor in our community and very unsafe. And there's a lot of seniors up there. We would feel a lot safer if this was looked into more thoroughly. And I'm asking the board to look into this so we can get more help in our community.
Ma'am, I'm going to direct you to 3 people behind you. The gentleman in the pink shirt is just Jeremy Strang. He's going to take care of the encampment. The lady with glasses.
They're doing it, but they get moved around.
The lady with glasses is Health and Human Services if you're looking for a social worker. And the gentleman who spoke earlier would be happy to look into human trafficking.
We would appreciate it.
All right, so I encourage you to speak with all 3 of them.
Yes, and these people are very angry with me. They know that I'm very much against this stuff, but it needs to be dealt with because children, I've worked at the schools and I've went into the schools and it's very bad and very sad. And I've talked to one of the young girls and she said there's drugs the parents are giving drugs to the children and trying to get them to sell them to the other children. They're called Spice. They tell them it's good for them. And this stuff needs to be dealt with. And I know the sheriff have been dealing with it, but it's just the homeless camps are making it worse.
All right, well, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
We'll talk to him.
All right, did we want to do the budget or the other 2? Okay, so we will start with item
293-2026, Admin Services, approve release of request for proposals for safety and workplace violence prevention services, and authorize administrative services to distribute.
Good morning, Chair, members of the board, Tiffany Manuel, Human Resources Director and Risk Manager. I'm up here on behalf of Admin Services because this is my RFP. So whatever questions you have, I'm happy to try and answer that for you.
So I guess my question is we already have, I assumed, a safety and workforce violence prevention service plan. So what are we doing?
Yeah, so we actually do have a workplace violence prevention plan, and it is very comprehensive of the number of things that the county is required to do pursuant to what Cal OSHA requires us to do, and also to make sure that we just have a safe operating environment. What we'd like to go out to RFP for is for a consultant to come in and help us to better refine our approach, a more comprehensive approach. The SB 553, which Cal OSHA enacted in 2024, provides a lot of additional requirements that the county needs to make sure that we're adhering to. And so we just want to make sure that we are on the right track, that we are taking into consideration all the appropriate hazard assessments that we're required to do for every single one of our employees. Also with facility security, making sure that we're going in the right direction to prevent workplace violence. So really it's just a consulting service to help us to better do the job that we're already doing.
Didn't we win an award for our plan?
We actually won an award for active shooter training that we did through PRISM, our joint Powers Association that we get our insurances through. We partnered with multiple departments, and we did active shooter drill and training here at the Government Center. That is only one component of our expansive workplace violence prevention requirements.
So if we don't move forward with this, will we be fined by OSHA?
Hopefully not. That's not our goal ever, to be in trouble with Cal OSHA. We are just simply trying to make sure that we have the resources available to meet all of the requirements. It is possible that we would work with a consultant to provide some of the assessments that we need, as no, we do not have appropriate staffing to make sure that we are able to do all of those things. We would have to find another way to do this if we didn't get to move forward with the RFP. And what that would look like, I'm not 100% sure.
And what's your thoughts of what this consultant will cost?
Our goal is, we've done a lot of research into this. We've communicated with partner agencies. We've had expansive conversations about the details of how different counties are trying to meet the compliance tied to the labor code with workplace violence prevention. Every county seems to be addressing it a little bit differently, but for the most part, every county that I have communicated with has some form of a consultant that is either advising them or is helping do some of the work. So our goal is to keep it as minimal as possible, but I'm not 100% sure yet what that cost will look like. As part of the rating criteria for the RFP, cost is definitely a component of the rating criteria. And, our goal, we don't at this point, don't have unlimited funds available, obviously. And once we do, decide on a contract, we would be bringing it back to your board for approval before we move forward regardless. So.
All right. I think we have a great plan, or extensive plan, I should say, maybe not great, extensive plan already. And so it just seemed like not necessary to me, but we will take a vote if there's a motion.
So can I just add one more comment to that? We do have an extensive, amazing plan in place. It's actually implementing it and continuing to be able to implement it is where this is really geared towards.
I have a comment through the chair. It probably also is every year they add more requirements and things to keep up on. I know I do the same thing at the ranch. I pay a firm to come out and have to change the posters every year. Even our ag department, every year I renew my permit. Things change. You got to repost everything, and it would be tough to stay compliant, I think, with all the requirements.
We do a lot of work already as it is, internally in human resources, as well as at each department. We have a designated safety representative. There's a lot of work that's already being done to ensure a safe work environment. I think, this is more so getting a outside professional opinion on workplace security protocols. We also do partner with the Sheriff's Department, but, wanting to make sure that we aren't doing something that isn't necessary or appropriate by contracting or consulting with an expert in this area.
And through the chair, I actually really like this idea because it gives something for us to go back to if for some unforeseen circumstance somebody in California decides to sue somebody else. We'll have an industry expert that'll actually have evaluated our system and helped implement it. So with that, I would move to approve this.
Second.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'll be opposed.
Thank you.
Sorry, did you do public comment? I didn't.
Is there any public comment on this issue?
Thank you.
All right, and then we will do item 275.
Council.
Human Resources, approve contract agreement with Carl Warren and Company, LLC for third-party administrator services for the term of July 1st, 2026 through June 30, 2029, and authorize chair to execute.
Hello, Tiffany Manuel, Human Resources Director and Risk Manager. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have on this.
If you can describe the contract.
Okay, Carl Warren is a third-party administrator that we've actually worked for quite some years. Prior to that, we had York. They provide administration services for our liability insurance claims and lawsuits. They handle all of the required paperwork and filings that need to be done, not only through the insurance company, but with PRISM, our JPA. And we are looking to continue our contract with them to provide services over the next few years. We have had some changes with our insurance deductibles. For liability, we're no longer going to have a $10,000 deductible. Effective July 1, 2026, we are going to have a $100,000 self-insured retention. And so we need their services to further help us administer the requirements of having that SIR.
And so maybe I didn't follow everything that you said. So prior to this, we had a $10,000 deductible per case. Now it's going to be $100,000, and that'll be the pool. And then after that, everything is covered?
Correct.
Okay. And then the SIR at the very end, what was that acronym
That's
for?
the self-insured retention of $100,000. It's just the acronym for it.
And is that going to reduce our premium cost?
It might a little bit, but there are many other factors that come into play when it comes to the premiums that we are charged.
Okay. And so do we have more than 10 cases of where we paid a $10,000 deductible, and so the $100,000 will be equivalent, less, more?
Well, every year is different in the insurance world. I am not 100% sure how many claims we're going to have over the length of this contract.
In the last year, not a couple years, do we have more than 10 claims a year?
Yes, we have more than 10 claims a year.
Okay, and so at $10,000 deductible, this will actually be cheaper then?
Well, each claim is processed a little bit differently. Some claims are processed rather fast, and it's just a matter of sending out a rejection notice, or it's a matter of making a settlement offer. Other claims, there's a little bit more research that needs to happen, and then they turn into a lawsuit. And with the lawsuits, as you know, they can cost quite a bit of money. And so, you know, in theory, when you have a higher self-insured retention amount, your premium is typically lower, but that wasn't necessarily the case in this particular situation. PRISM opted to no longer offer what's called the deductible buy-down program, which is what we were on to make our deductible $10,000. A couple years ago, I had an actuary report ran on the cost for the county to have the deductible buy-down program, and in all honesty, we were kind of approaching a point where maybe it wasn't cost effective for us to do that. It just so happened that PRISM decided to end it effective July 1. So I'm a little bit hesitant because I'm not prepared with any actual data to answer that question, but our goal is always to save money where we can and reduce costs where we can. But I have very little control over the amount of claims that are coming into the county and what those claims look like.
Okay. And I guess my question is the process. Somebody makes a claim. PRISM's going to eventually pay it out. We're going to pay part of it at some point in the middle. What does this company do?
So they administer the claim. They have communications with the claimant or with the attorneys that are involved with the claim. They send out all of the notification letters that are required to be sent out. We have strict timelines that we have to meet in order to be in compliance with the Tort Claims Act. There's also reporting requirements for the insurers and through PRISM. There's excess reporting requirements when we hit excess layers of insurance. It's basically processing paper that is required and having communications with the claimants.
Okay. And how much is this contract for?
I did not put a not to exceed limit on the contract. The rates that they charge are included in the contract. The only reason why I steered clear of doing that is because I wasn't exactly sure. This is my first time operating with this level of an SIR. If I had to make an educated guess based upon what I know at this point in time is that I wouldn't expect it to exceed about $25,000 each year. But again, I wasn't quite prepared with the data to bring to you.
Okay. And so, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Through the chair, I think this is pretty typical for risk management and subrogation, that they have somebody that processes the claim. So it's somebody whose expertise is insurance adjusting and has time to focus on these kind of things. So I just want to say thank you to Tiffany for putting this together, and I'd move for approval.
I'll second.
All right. Any public comment? Yes, sir. Mr. McWhorter.
Are you sure the sun's gonna come up in the east, set in the west?
Board, Tom McWhorter, Yuba County. I apologize, but through the chair, you had a presentation here, and by their own admission, they didn't have a lot of facts, didn't have a lot of numbers. And we count on them for this information. And so I would like to suggest that this motion be tabled until the missing pieces of information can be provided. If the numbers exceed the $25,000, what are the repercussions? Who pays the penalty? We do. And so without much information, we're guessing, and I believe I heard that word come out during the presentation. And I'm sorry, this is my dollars. I really, I don't even go out to the Hard Rock. I don't gamble. We have a staff, and you have on many occasions applauded them for their hard, diligent work. And I think that we would be remiss to accept this level of work, because I don't think it's hitting the bar. I think when this missing information is provided, then we would have a better idea of which way to vote. So I would like to ask the board to table this measure until the said missing information is provided. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Through the chair, I'll call the question.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
One opposed is me. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move to county budget.
Agenda item 287, 2026, receive recommended budget for fiscal year 2026, 2027.
All right, good morning, Chair, members of the board. It's still morning, right? Yep, and we'll be out of here before noon, hopefully. I know the item showed a 30-minute time estimate, but I only have 13 slides. So unless I really draw out each slide, it should go a little quicker than 30 minutes. All right. So I'm before you today to present the recommended budget for fiscal year 26-27, which would begin July 1st of this year. All right, so the objectives of this recommended budget is really just to have an interim spending plan in place for our organization so that we can continue operations while we go through the process of kind of finalizing the budget and adopting the budget in September. And this recommended budget, there's well over 100 pages of information. It's all we've got it all contained online there, and we're intentional on how we've kind of structured the timelines here on this. But we wanted to today is really just asking the board to adopt or put in place a recommended budget and interim spending plan, so that you have time to kind of look through all of the data that's been assembled in this recommended budget, and then you can have an informed discussion with our departments in August at that 2-day budget workshop, and then give direction to us is how you want to proceed with the final budget, the adopted budget in September. And as always, with the budget that I'm going to present to you, we want to ensure that the budget keeps intact, adequate general fund reserves and contingencies that meet your adopted policies. So the cycle of the budget really it starts several months prior to this. So in March we have departments present to my office their department requested budget And then my office assembles all of that information so we can take a look at it comprehensively to make sure that the asks don't exceed the revenues we have available, which results in our discussions in April with individual departments to try and find that balance. To make sure we're able to move forward as an organization and meet our service levels, but also stay within our financial constraints. I discussed this, what the results of that April, those April meetings are in May with the Finance and Budget Ad Hoc Committees. So that's the auditor, controller, and the treasurer's, as well as with the chair and vice chair, who are the Finance Committee, and kind of go over what I'm going to present to you guys today, and which leads us to today, which would be this interim spending plan. And as I mentioned before, we have the August budget workshop. Something I wanted to highlight here, we had a number of asks from departments through those April discussions that we had to table, in my opinion, to make sure that what was presented today as an interim spending plan was balanced. And so those will be compiled, and then those will be presented to the board at the August budget workshop, and then each department can kind of go over those asks. Like, for example, the prior item today from the auditor controller's office, that can now be kind of added to the ask list and part of the discussion at the August budget workshop. And then at the conclusion of the budget workshop, the board can then give me direction on how you would like to see the adopted budget look in September as far as adds or retractions. So that's kind of the cycle in a nutshell. So the highlights of this interim spending plan that's before you today, when you add up all of the operating budgets, it's just under $375 million. To ensure that what's before you is fiscally responsible, we're deleting a number of vacant positions. So the total position allocations in the county will be reduced from 921 to 900. There's just under $12 million programmed within that 375 million in Measure K spending, and then also within that 375 million, there's over $71 million in capital projects, primarily public works projects, but also other facility projects. All right, so the revenue generated to balance with those expenses of $374.8 million comes from a number of sources. This is just a consolidated table here. There's a much more expansive table that's in the recommended budget book. Like, for example, and we listed them in kind of an ascending order here. So the largest being intergovernmental. Your primary driver here is a lot of state funds that come into the county, as well as federal funds, but there's also other local agency funds in there. For example, the county has an MOU in place with Yuba Water Agency for specific purposes that the county provides services on. And so that would be in your intergovernmental pot. We have our operating transfers in, reimbursements, cash, et cetera, your next largest pot. And this, again, a large portion of this is state and federal funds that come in, and for various reasons from accounting, usually it's like grant obligation related reasons. The money comes in, it has to be in a dedicated fund, and then it gets transferred into an operating fund from tracking purposes, or it's a fiscal year issue where the money came in say a previous fiscal year for a project that's in a upcoming fiscal year. So, and then the next largest would be our general fund, and I have a little more breakdown on that. Charges for services, you have a lot of our fee for services. So you're going to, that's a lot of what's generated, well, throughout the county, but community development has a lot of fee for service generation. Measure K, as I mentioned, at 11.9 million previously. The taxes that's identified here is taxes for specific purposes. Like, for example, we have our resource depletion tax, the Measure D funds, et cetera. And then franchise fees, license permits. The county does receive revenue from franchisees that benefit from using county properties. This is a lot of this is like, for example, PG&E and AT&T, Comcast, et cetera. They're using our road right-of-ways. There's a franchise fee. There's also the collection service agreement with Recology. So that would be kind of in that bucket. So anyways, It kind of a 30,000 foot elevation. This is the kind of your revenue buckets to total up to the $374 million. And then breaking down into the general fund a little bit more, your top generator under taxes there is really property taxes is going to be your largest, followed by sales tax. Comes in at just under $53 million. Your intergovernmental, most of this, because it's in the discretionary pot, is the MOU in place between the county and Enterprise Rancheria, which is just over $5 million. And then you have a little sprinkling from other sources. Interest earnings, which is something that's really been on the rise for Yuba County over the last several years, which there's kind of two factors to that. One being we have more cash on hand because we've been fiscally responsible. The other being our treasurer has done a great job of investing in the pool. So we've had greater yields there. So we're anticipating over $3 million in revenue from interest earnings in 26-27. And then the licenses, permits, franchises, charges for service, fines and forfeitures. So anyways, so that collectively, and then I did want to identify on the Measure K, we do track all of that separately, so that 11.9 million. And so that would be what we're anticipating in gross revenue coming in next year in Measure K. And of that, the board has continued, unless I'm directed otherwise, to take 20% of that gross and dedicate it to the 9 fire districts, which then the 9 fire districts, distribute it proportionally based on calls for service. They kind of have their own formula there. And then the other 80% is programmed, and I'll kind of go over that in a minute, for county services.
Kevin, I just have a question to the chair.
Yes.
On the intergovernmental, is that where the money would live? Like Marysville pays for Linda Fire, it comes through the county to Linda Fire, or do they pay that directly?
Yeah, that doesn't flow through the county.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Through the county budget. I'm not sure if it goes through the county coffers, right? But outside of the county operating budget here. Okay, and so this is kind of taking a look at that 374 million by function, and with our new chart of accounts, with the new financial system that's in place. We've kind of pulled together based on the categories that are in that system. So public ways and facilities is primarily public works. So you have a lot of the capital projects in there that are really driving how that ends up being at $117 million. Under public assistance, you have, that's primarily health and human services, but you do have a couple other smaller departments that provide public assistance services as well in there. Public protection is a compilation of several different departments. Obviously, you have the Sheriff's Department is probably the largest in that group, along with District Attorney, the Probation Department. But you also have like the Ag Department, for example, that would in Code Enforcement, Building Department, that would be within the public protection category. General Administrative, which is my office and quite a few, most of the other, general administrative support offices. Health and sanitation is going to be public health and environmental health primarily. Non-departmental is going to be our kind of debt service for some of our bond payments that are out there that flow through, and recreation and cultural. That is going to be primarily your parks. We have a fairly large capital project with Friendship Park in there, and so that's why you see that at $5.5 million. And then education is our library. So, but it's categorized as education in the part of accounts, so that's how it's identified here. All right, and then specific to how we're recommending appropriation of the general fund, the bulk of that, nearly just over 59 million of it, would be in the public protection areas, 10 million in general administrative, 1.1 million in education, which gets back to the library function, and then public assistance. Most of this is tied to maintenance of effort requirements the county has in order to receive the ongoing state and federal funds under those public assistance programs. And then recreation and cultural, that's primarily for your parks operations that are occurring in the county. Health and sanitation, again, back to minimum maintenance of efforts required to receive our public health funds that come into the county. And then the public ways and facilities, this 130,000 is really the interest payment to the Yuba Water Agency for a loan that the Yuba Water Agency made several years back to Public Works to advance fund quite a few paving projects, if the board recalls. And it's not allowable to use our gas tax funds that the Public Works receives to pay the interest. And so the general fund needs to make that payment. So that's appropriations on the general fund. This is appropriation specific to Measure K, and I have two slides here. And we've kind of made sure it's clear on one-time versus ongoing. We have a one-time, the single one-time project that's under administrative services that they'll be administering on behalf of the Sheriff's Department would be 2.4 million. Well, it's 2 million in improvements, 400,000 for property. This would be out of animal care services. So it would be an expansion of that facility to keep up with demand. And then you have kind of a sprinkling in various departments and ongoing. You'll see the largest there being building and code enforcement, and that's really covering sheriff deputy costs to provide support to building and code enforcement as well as enhancing our abatements. And then on kind of our core three public safety departments, this is how we're recommending appropriation of Measure K funds to those three departments for ongoing expenses. They don't have any requests as part of the this recommended budget for one time. If there are any, they'll be discussed with the board at the August budget workshop. But you'll see there that the ongoing at 7.6 million. Coupled with the ongoing from the previous slide adds up to about 9.5 million in ongoing expenses the county has right now, or what we're recommending in appropriations, which is pretty much matches what we see coming in ongoing revenue. So balanced out there. And then we have kind of a reserve in Measure K, and that's where we'd be pulling from for this 2.4 million for the one time for ACS. All right, so the county's overall reserves and contingencies, they've continued to grow over the last few years, being fiscally responsible. As part of the recommended budget, we're not recommending adding any. You will see that for the economic uncertainty, it's going from 5.5 to 5.7. That's from interest earnings. And that's why that's bumping up there. But otherwise, this is something that we can discuss with the board at the conclusion of the August budget workshops to kind of see if we have any funds that are left that are unallocated. Does the board want to bolster any of these three categories under contingencies, economic uncertainty, or our general reserve? All right, so last slide. So what's presented to you today is to accept and adopt the recommended budget. That'll be the county's interim spending plan beginning July 1st. And include those position allocation changes, as I mentioned, reducing overall from 921 down to 900. We have copies available for public review. We have that posted on the county's website already. Set the budget workshop for August 5th and 6th, and then set the adopted budget hearing for September 8th. I'd be happy to answer any question the board has.
Through the chair. Kevin, thanks for making this very clear and concise, and bearing with me last year as I was trying to learn what this process is. And it might, for the general public, it might be prudent to know that you guys can check this progress out online regularly, see where you're at in the budget planning process, and then any proposed budgets that are going to come forward will be posted online for the public to view early, right? So it's a good way to have a very open forum for feedback too. So feel free to reach out to your county supervisor or to your department head if you think something isn't correct or something should be changed before the budget hearings or before the workshop, really. And I just had a question on that interest for the reserves. I think that'd be a good area for us to earmark that for our county district discretionary fund. So we'd be able to kind of tie it to something that grows or doesn't grow. So if the county's doing great, it might be good incentive to make sure we're putting back in our districts. And if it's not doing great, it might be a good way to say, hey, this year we're not going to spend money. So just an idea for our workshop. So
Instead of having just a set amount each year, it's tied to the fiscal health of the county.
Yeah, I think it'd be a good way to say if we're not doing good, we can't do something in the future. So, but thank you.
Any public comment? Other board comment? All right, there's no roll call vote on this?
Oh, I would
Move to accept and to adopt the recommended budget for fiscal year.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right. The only thing I'd want to point out is that 3 years ago, our general budget was quite a bit smaller. We've had a 40% growth in the last 3 years. Assumedly in the next 3 years with another 40% growth, we will have doubled our budget. So that seems slightly concerning as far as government creep or bloat goes. That in 6 years, we would double our size of our government. We certainly haven't doubled the size of our population. We certainly haven't had inflation at that range. So it is a large increase that we are seeing every year. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'll be opposed, so it'll be 4-1. And we will move on to ordinances.
If you challenge in court the action or decision of the Yuba County Board of Supervisors regarding a zoning, planning, land use, or environmental protection matter made at any hearing described in this notice, you may be limited to raising only those issues you or someone else raised at such hearing or in written correspondence delivered to the Yuba County Board of Supervisors at or prior to such hearing. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes per individual or group. First agenda item we have is 245-2026. Community Development and Services, public hearing, hold public hearing and adopt resolution amending Underground Utility District number 2024-1 on Lyndhurst Avenue.
Good morning, Brian Michaels, Public Works Director. A couple of years ago, a resolution came before the board, and the board adopted that, which created an underground district on Lyndhurst Avenue for undergrounding for PG&E. That boundary was set by that resolution. Since that time, costs of doing construction have changed, and the amount of work that PG&E can do has been reduced. Because that resolution has to match the amount of work PG&E does, or that boundary of the work, we're bringing back this resolution to match that scope of work. One question that may come up is why don't we go back to PG&E and ask for more money? The reason for that is in 2022, the Public Utilities Commission made a finding, or it gave directive that no more funding would go into this program. So the money we have for this is set at that amount that PG&E has previously agreed to. This program, the Rule 28 program, will end in 2033. So it's not long-term. So those projects that are already in the queue will continue. So at this point in time, my recommendation is that we modify the limits of this, adopt the resolution and move forward and use that money that PG&E has already dedicated to it. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any public comment?
Move
And
to approve.
I'll second.
all right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Carries unanimously. Mary?
Yes, we have correspondence. Agenda item 298-2026, received 2 notices from California Fish and Game Commission regarding 2026-27 rules for ocean salmon and upcoming meeting of June 17th through the 18th, 2026.
All right, we will go to individual board. I think this is going to be the Gary Show.
Well, two of the 3 are the Gary Show. So I'll start with item 282-2026. This is approval of $7,000 from my district priority funds to support the Salmon River the Yuba River, the salmon expeditions that I know the board is familiar with. As you're aware, the water agency previously paid to send all 4th graders in the county annually on this educational experience where they can learn about salmon and Native Americans and the gold rush. I think most of us have had the opportunity to actually go on that trip ourselves. Unfortunately, due to the penstock incident, the Yuba Water Agency is unable to provide funding this year. And so I'm requesting $7,000 to help with that. I know they are talking with other organizations such as Rotary and others in the community to try to close that funding gap. And so I just want to contribute partially to that. So I don't know if there's any questions.
Any public comment? Would you like to make your motion?
I will move to approve.
All in favor? Aye. Carries.
Thank you. The next item is 292-2026. This is for $1,200, which will basically deplete the rest of my $10,000 allocation for this year for Hegemony Sports MLS soccer program. Hegemony Sports currently operates a very successful flag football program in Plumas Lake, and they have participants from all over the south part of the county and beyond. And then they also recently started an NBA basketball program as well. I believe that may or may not play at some schools in Olivehurst, but it certainly plays at some in Plumas Lake. And I understand they've been asked to also start an MLS soccer program. And so this funding is to help purchase equipment to get that program off the ground. So they rely on a lot of, like many youth sports organizations, the more external funding they get, the less expensive that they can make their program for the participants.
Any public comment?
Okay, I will move to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Carries. All right, Rennick.
Okay, this item number 303-2026 for your consideration. It's the remaining balance of my discretionary fund for the District 2 in Yuba County. We had asked that we be able to direct with some discretion where funding can go in our districts in the county to make sure that some projects can get completed, some events can happen, some sponsorships can happen, so that directly deployable money in our districts. We asked for that at this year's budgeting process, and I just love to be able to put it to use. It was a little bit hard to sort through all the asks and all the needs, which is tough to do, but Yuba-Sutter Transit Authority actually offers a youth pass that's subsidized by the Air Quality District that gives our youth an option to travel on the transit system for a month for $10. And being a teacher, I kind of see a lot of students that are failing in school and have an issue showing up. And when you talk to those parents and those constituents about those kind of concerns, a lot of the times they have transportation issues, and sometimes parental issues. Sometimes it's the bus doesn't go where they need them to go, the school bus, at the right time. But they seem to have pretty good success once they become avid transit riders. They learn responsibility, how to be on time, how to navigate the system themselves. If they're 15, 16, 17, they may not have access to a car, but they have bigger responsibilities to get to work or to get to after school programming, things like that. So my ask is that we grant the $5,000 remaining in my account for the year, or my discretionary fund for the year, to Yuba-Sutter Transit so they can fully subsidize 500 passes for our youth. So that would come out to 500 youth being served. So with that, I would move to approve.
I'll second.
Any public comment? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Legal counsel, just as a aside, can these items be under consent?
The,
Individual board member items?
I would hope not.
I don't know if there's anything in the policy addressing that. I'd be happy to look at that for your board, but I don't recall anything specifying.
So if we can have those as necessary.
If I may, we do have a policy. We do have it under a resolution. So if this was to be changed, we would have to bring it back to the board for full approval. It is on a resolution.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right.
Thank you, Mary.
Board and staff member reports. Andy?
Well, I went to the stand-down dinner. It was crowded and left after a little while. And congratulations again to Chief Webb for 62%. I understand it with the recounts. It's all gone to 59, but that's a good job. Thank you.
Yeah, had a pretty busy week. Met with Yuba-Sutter Transit about the need for youth transportation in our area. Met with with YOLO YOLO bus about the state of transit operations, where the transit contracts their operations. The Yuba-Sutter Transit Authority is coming into a time where they're going to go out for a contract for a transit operator in the near future. Times have really changed since COVID. So we've been locked into a contract since pre-COVID. And so the expectations are that things cost a lot more money now. The current contractor's been, held by a inflator limit on the inflator for inflation, and a lot of stuff's a lot more expensive. So how do you even go out for a proposal and make sure it's multifaceted enough to represent the needs of the service? So it was good to hear from somebody who just awarded their contract. So and our transit director actually served on the committee as well, so that he could gain some insight to that process to set us up for our future contract negotiation, which is good. But also, let's see here, met with Regional Housing Authority, where we are working through adding Lake County to the Regional Housing Authority projects. So we'd have Colusa, Yuba-Sutter, and Nevada County, and just gives us a little bit more strength when we're looking for regional size project money. And also when you get awards in one district, it kind of, you're all recognized for it. So that helps us get future awards. So that's also good. Went to the spring legislative conference at CSAC. I think I already talked about that at the last meeting, but I've continued to follow up with lawmakers about HR1 impacts and May revised budget negotiations as our elected representatives at the state are working through trying to secure funding for our counties. Especially for us, it's a lot to do with eligibility for new work requirements and things like that. So I think we've made some headway there, and I'm looking forward to seeing a revision of a budget, which is kind of scary. And then this week I'll be presenting a proclamation to Yuba River Endowment for all the effort they do to promote access to college for our kids through scholarship programs and generally overall supporting our community with food donations and things like that. And I just wanted to give a attaboy and congratulations to all of those who worked on the Horizon event. We had a chance to go out to Bishop's Pumpkin Farm and celebrate local investment by our private sector, really. Farmers, business owners spend a lot of time and money in Yuba County, and we had a night to celebrate and honor those people. And Kevin gave some good words there. I know it's hard to pull that off when you have one or two people in an apartment, and some of them aren't there right now. So it was good. And then just a general reminder that Marysville has Rock the Block on June 13th, which is put on by the School of Rock on C Street. They're going to shut down the road and have some rock event and food trucks. Marysville Little League has a field maintenance day this Sunday. So if you want to see me in action, welding, cutting boards, painting, you can come out and watch, or you can help this Sunday, June 14th. And then we also have the 250th anniversary celebration of our country coming up. So there's a 3-day event, and it's going to be between Yuba County, Sutter County, and City of Marysville, and City of Yuba City. And it's going to be a pretty wild 3-day event. So more to come. Thank you.
So a couple items. First, thank you to my fellow board members for your support on my district priority fund items. I want to echo what Supervisor House said about On the Horizon dinner. It was a great job, a wonderful location in the 4th District, beautiful evening. And I had some great conversations, and several of them were from folks who've dealt with community. They were more on the development side, and they've dealt with community development staff for recent developments, and they had nothing but praise about Yuba County and our staff. So I just want to make sure that's passed along. I fortunately hear that a lot, and it's appreciated. Had a recent SATIA meeting where we got an update on the South Beale Road Railroad Grade Separation Project and the Beale Expressway. And we requested the consultant to go back and maybe look at the potential of some alternate alignments on the South Beale Road project. I have 3 upcoming change of command ceremonies at Beale Air Force Base over the next couple weeks. So it's that time of year where a lot of the commanders out there are transitioning into other roles, and most of them are on a 2-year cycle, so they're at Beale for about 2 years. Side Meadows and Plumas Lake, so I would encourage all Plumas Lake residents who want to shape the future of the community and are available to come out to that. And then finally, the RCRC annual meeting is coming up in September, and I think the board remembers that every county has to bring a basket to be raffled off. And that money goes to some nonprofit community organizations in the county of the chair. And so Yuba is responsible for putting together a basket. And so I would certainly appreciate anything that my fellow board members can help wrangle up for the basket. I think we have to have that done by sometime in August. And so we've got a couple months, but the clock is ticking. So if you can get any donations from some of our local businesses, that'd be amazing and would be appreciated. You can just give them to Mary. So thanks.
Where's RCRC this year?
It's in Santa Barbara this year.
I'm up. I guess, or we're going to have another board meeting before the fair, actually right when the fair starts, but I just wanted to bring up the fair again and the livestock auction. It was great having that young man who is actually a son of one of our sheriff department employees present his deal. I've got a couple other ones here from another 4-H member. I won't be staying at the fair this year for the first time in about 30 years, but I will be there doing the brisket cook-off Friday night, starting cooking Thursday night, and I'm hoping that for the 3rd year in a row, there'll be our 3rd annual, that Supervisor Fear will come and be one of our judges again. So that's it.
Well, then my report will consist entirely of I am very excited to be a brisket judge, and if anyone else ever needs my services in that capacity, I am available. Legal counsel.
Nothing here, thank you.
Board, I just wanted to let you know I'm going to be out of town for the next board meeting, so Sean Powers will be taking my spot up here.
Mary?
Nothing, thank you.
All right, we will recess then to closed session.
Recording stopped.
Up on Tuesday, Government Watch.
See what more than $1 billion buys local government and schools. At the 3 p.m. Sutter County Supervisors meeting, the county's $551.6 million recommended budget gets its public presentation. Sutter County firefighters anticipate a new 2-year contract and a 2% raise. A behavioral health provider gets a nearly $500,000 budget boost in a separate action. There's been a 76% rise in certain types of behavioral health conservatees between July 2023 and March of 2026. More care is needed. The money is from state and federal sources. And a retired Sutter County K-9 named Hitch goes home with his handler for $1,500. Supervisors are expected to say yes to the switch for Hitch, something to woof about. Around 6:30 p.m., Marysville Joint Unified School District trustees also get a walk through the district's 2026-27 income and spending plan. It's $215.8 million across the district. There's a public hearing. People can ask questions, weigh in. Adding it up, every kindergartner through 8th grader in the Marysville Unified School District could be learning math differently next year. Marysville school trustees will hold a public hearing, then a vote on a new district-wide math curriculum Tuesday night. Parents who want to weigh in have at least one chance before the gavel comes down. At 7 p.m., the Yuba City Unified School Trustees also hold a public hearing on YCUSD's $240 million budget, along with the accountability plan that shows where the money goes and who it serves. The board votes on 10 electric school buses. That's an $8.8 million purchase, covered almost entirely by state and PG&E grants, the district's picking up just $577,000. And at 15 Yuba City schools, 6,000 students are getting more music, dance, and digital arts, mariachi, ballet folklorico, and a new digital animation pathway. The annual arts report gets its board approval tonight. It's all live right here.
Tuesday on Government Watch, you can support or sponsor. Help keep the community aware with Yuba-Sutter.LIVE.
Yuba-Sutter.LIVE. It's the truth that comes through.